and I wanted to start raging about it. I know. When you had come into the room the other night, you had come in pretty much guns blazing and talked about um, atheists not being able to have morality. So I thought we might be able to get into that at some
Sure.
point. But yeah, that's
Well, I
pretty
had a
much my.
problem with one of your panel members, Red Fang or whatever. He came on Praise's channel before, and he was absolutely obnoxious. And Praise was in there getting ganged up on, so I wanted to help out a little bit. There was no animosity towards you. I didn't disrespect you or anything, but I did have a problem with one of your panel members because he was acted like an absolute scumbag before.
Well, Red Fang, yeah, he's been on my channel quite a few times. I know him pretty well. I think he's a pretty cool dude. I didn't see that. I know things can get testy, and in the heat of it, we can all be assholes.
Well, yeah, sure. So can you, if I had to ask you about your Christian experience, could you? I know it was a long time ago, but could you summarize basically what you believed Christianity was?
Yeah, it's hard to put myself back there. Make sure I'm still good on both places. Um, you know, so I definitely believed in like OSAS. I remember that being a doctrine that I heard a lot. I didn't believe in evolution. Um, I believe I was a young Earth creationist, which was what kind of led me to my original doubts. Sorry, just doing two things at once. I just need to find the window capture. There it is. All right. But outside of that, it's been so long. I've been removed from North Carolina for a good 20 years now. I'm not even like the only real like little glimpses into that old life of mine that I get are like um, Facebook posts from friends that I still have down there, and there's not many of them. Mainly for political reasons. I was a liberal far before I was a vocal atheist, so a lot of them stopped liking me for vocalizing liberal thoughts. But I do still have quite a few friends in North Carolina. and I do still see some of it, and it's like that's like the only real glimpses that I get of um, um,
Right. I'm
that
sorry
old life. That
to
yeah.
interrupt your rage,
Oh,
but
go for it.
I
Sorry, I
asked
was
you.
kind of doing two things at once, so I was kind of
Yeah,
answering
I
that
asked
part.
you what did you think Christianity was, and you described young Earth creation and other things. But could you, like, if you had to summarize what your belief in the gospel was, what would you say the gospel is, if you had to sum
So,
it up?
yeah, somebody asked me this before, and I butchered it then. So it's like the truth, right? Like so, um, I believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins. I believe that He died on the cross and was resurrected. I believe that you know I um, we pretty much followed like a Baptist code, but it was weird because it was cultural at the same time. So I don't know. It's hard to describe. It was a long time ago.
So it's a culture. So would you say you had like an intellectual acknowledgement of the Holy Bible?
Sure. Yeah, I've read it a lot more times since I've stopped being a Christian than I ever did as a Christian.
Wow. Okay. So so would you say that? No, I'm not trying to attack you or pick on you or anything, but would you say it was more of like a state of things, like facts that you held to in your mind, but you didn't really like inwardly hold to them in your heart?
Well, I mean, so it depends, right? I think that. All right, so I'll use an example. Like, so when I was in high school,
Mhm.
we went to church every Sunday. We'd go to church, and all of us we'd clean up for it. But I also played football. I played basketball. So did most of my friends. A lot of the people I went to church with. Um, and we acted differently in school than we did at church. Um, we acted differently at parties than we did at church, and the whole like everybody did back then. Like that's what I was kind of saying is it's like culturally because pretty much all of us rebelled against our parents and our parents like really strict Southern Baptist forms of Christianity and what they demanded of us. So it was I know you're getting to the heart of it, and I was like talking about this in my stream. Like, do I consider myself like a true Christian? Like, would a real Christian look at me and say, "You was a true Christian back then"? No, probably not. But then again, I don't think anybody would look at any of those kids back then and say they were true Christians. And I can tell you,
Well,
I can tell you that all of them now are their parents now, right? Like, so what they were rebelling against back then, they are now, or at least most of them.
and I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of atheists will deny that, but I appreciate you being honest about that, Rage. I
But
really do.
that's me though. I did hear because I got bored. Usually I don't get bored before a one on one, but I got bored and I was looking at your stream on Praises channel the other night,
Mhm.
where you was talking with Jamie, and so I've heard your whole shtick about how it's not possible for atheists to have been real Christians, and I would probably take issue with that.
Well,
You know,
can I add a thing to that? Is I would
sure.
say not permanently.
Say what?
I would argue that whom God has made perfect and given a new heart, you can maybe stop believing for a while, but I don't believe it would be an impermanent abandonment of the faith, because what God has made new, you can't perfectly resist. It's impossible. Like, God is greater than
See,
us.
you said that word, so now, I was wondering because do you know who the preacher is?
Yeah, he's an absolute scumbag. I've dealt with him before. He's a terrible heretic.
Because I was wondering because I was getting some vibes with the whole scripture thing, and then you just said perfect. So what do you mean by like perfect in that regard?
Okay, so we're gonna get into a little bit of ontology here, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So So the moment you truly believe, not just an intellectual assent of facts about the Bible, but a true belief in your heart and a contrition over sin, admitting you're a sinner and you can't save yourself, and you truly believe who Jesus was, which is God in the flesh, and what he did, which is die for the sins of the world on the cross and rise again. That moment where you truly believe that, see, we're born in Adam, we have a dead spirit. He makes our spirit alive, he makes it perfect and incorruptible. And that's what's going to inherit the kingdom of God. So you have a new perfect spirit that he's given you, and then he also places his spirit in you, Ezekiel 36:26. He gives you the Holy Spirit, and it causes you to walk in his ways. So it's impossible for someone that had a genuine born again experience that's been made perfect and new in God, in Christ, to permanently abandon him. Because if God is living in you, how can you perfectly resist him?
All right. So good. I guess it's a good point. So God comes into you perfectly. Would would you say that you have experienced that God has come into you perfectly, and you are a real Christian? Like you could never not believe in God.
I would say yes. In 2012, I got saved, and he completely changed my life. He changed the way I thought, the things I wanted to do, the people I wanted to hang around with, things I cared about. I had a hunger and a desire to know him more and to read his word and to tell others about it. So, yes, I believe I have genuinely been saved, and that the Holy Spirit has come into me, and he'll never leave me nor forsake me, according to the text.
All right. So I was kind of talking about this in my stream before I came into your room here. So let's say I don't know if you're married or not, but let's say you're married and you have 6 kids, right? And like Job, you're going around and you're saying that you are now perfect in Christ and that you could never lose your faith. Let's say God decides He wants to test that, and year after year,
Hold on, I need to make a caveat, Rage. I'm not saying you can't lose your faith. I'm saying you can't permanently lose it.
So you can lose it in moments, but you can't permanently lose it.
Correct.
So by that, so with your claims, like with Matt Dillahunty, for instance, let's say he was a real Christian at one point.
Sorry.
Now he's not, and he hasn't been for a long time. But
Bluetooth
at
mode.
one point, he possibly could be, right? So
Bluetooth connected.
by that ideology.
Well, but here's the problem: is that when you ask Matt Dillahunty about what he believed, he doesn't understand salvation, and he doesn't comprehend, or maybe ignorant, doesn't really understand the gospel, right? Because we had one of his goonies come on Praise's channel the other night, some guy named Peter, who said Matt Dillahunty believed past tense, that salvation is something that will happen in the future. We don't have it now. We don't have a state of eternality now. It happens after you die. That is not what the Bible teaches. So just based off of that alone, Matt Dillahunty had a false gospel. So he was never saved. We can go back to your hypothetical. So you're saying there's someone that truly was saved, but now they're an atheist? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, what I'm saying is, like, say, because you're saying that you're perfect, or not that you're perfect, but
my spirit is perfect. Me and
Yeah.
my flesh, I still sin. I'm not perfect.
and you've been infected in that way, and God decided He wanted to test your faith, to see if you would become a non-believer, and He were to like cast plague after plague. He hits each of your kids with a plague, and you lose all your children, and you lose your wife, you lose your job, your whatever fortune you had. You're destitute. You've lost everything. Are you saying that you would be Job and you would keep your faith through all of that?
Well, I mean, how could I not believe? Like, God has made himself evident to me through his word and through my life. Things that have happened, experiences. I've experienced God, so I could never really. I mean, I could be mad at him for a time and refuse to acknowledge him, but I can't deny what has happened to me. Like, that would be me denying reality. Like, I would have to lie to myself.
Well, I would say a lot of us atheists had spiritual experiences. I'll be honest with you and say, yeah, probably by at least most evangelical Christians' terms, I didn't live a perfectly Christian life, but I did believe in Jesus. I believe, I remember firmly just believing wholeheartedly. But like, would you? I forgot the framing of my question. Where I was going with there. I don't know. It seems odd to me that we often think the impossible of ourselves until the moment comes. I think that I think doubt and faith is probably a natural process for most Christians, inwardly, if they were honest. Um, I think that. So, would you say that is there any way that you could logically reason yourself out of a belief in God? You know, we've all had personal experiences. I had a lot of spiritual experiences, um, probably more so once I got into my 20s and I was experimenting with other things. But could you logically ever think your way out of faith?
I would say that me and my flesh is capable of every disgusting thing you could think of. But by the grace of God, He won't leave me in that, right? Like Hebrews chapter 12, it says that if we are His children, He deals with us as children. When we go off into sin and do stupid things, live rebelliously, unrepentant sin, things like that, that He chastises us. And the book of Hebrews in chapter 12 says, if you don't receive chastisement, then you are not sons but bastards. So that also shows you the love of God is that when you go off in a great error like that, He won't allow you to continue. He will chastise you and bring you out of it. That's what the Bible teaches. So if there's someone out there that completely goes into a life of debauchery and completely ignores God and ignores the Bible, then that's showing that they don't have the Holy Spirit. There's no chastisement. They're not a son of God. In other words, they didn't have a genuine faith.
Right. So I get how you can see that from like atheists, right? Non-believers. What do you think about other religions, right? Like, so these people, they have faith in their gods. They live faithful lives. I think you can say that they live moral lives, right? So what about them?
Well, I would say they live moral lives according to who? According
Well,
to their standard?
I know you're a Christian and you believe that Christ is the only God, but I don't know. Like, so are they all going to hell with the atheists, with the non-believers? I mean, they believe in something. They live moral lives. They live moral underneath the moral code from their religious beliefs, right?
Well, that's a good question. I appreciate that. So, in the book of John, chapter 3, verses 18 and 19, it says that everyone is already condemned because they have not believed. And later, Jesus also says that I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father but by me. So, if you're believing anything to get to heaven or to God other than Christ, then you are already condemned according to the Scripture. And that's the point, that we're all equally sinners. We're all equally condemned until we come to Christ, and then we are no longer condemned. We are justified by faith. And Jesus moves us from being a sinner to a saint. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be, sinless and stuff like that preacher heretic will teach you, but it means that you've been made perfected in your soul. I mean, not your soul, your
Here's
spirit.
Graham.
In your spirit, you are guaranteed to inherit eternal life in the kingdom of God because your spirit can't sin.
I'm just about to block you, Gavin. Clown. There. Bye bye, Muppet. I don't know why think you're clever enough to think you can sit there deleting the italics from the King James Bible. You have no understanding of Greek at all. The fact that you do that illustrates it, Graham. You are a fool. You are the weakest link. And I went to your channel the other day, and the way you talk to Kevin is a tad unfortunate, telling him what he's got to believe. I'm beginning to think that Kevin is a bit of a sycophant and a sort of plagiarist light. Bye bye, fool. There, gone. Thank you for the opportunity. How many views did I get on that? Oh yeah. Oh, not many. Right, let's go back to this.
But we still do sin because we still live in these bodies, right? That it's been contaminated. So that's the distinction that I would make. And so Rage, we can get into all the other stuff you want to talk about. Do you mind if I just ask you a couple things, see where your mind is at on the subject of like morality and things?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, because you came into my room, um, and I know you said you was going that red thing, but you didn't make like the thing that we all hear a million times. You made the statement like, I don't see how you can have any basis uh, for for your morality or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
we can get into that, I promise. But I just want to ask you some stuff. So,
Sure.
Rage, if I asked you if you think you're a good person, what would you say to me?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think I can be good in moments, but I think I can be a dick. I think I can be an asshole. I think I can be rather rude to people. I think I can be abrasive. I think I have a pretty good image of what I really am. I think most human beings are good and they are bad. I have good aspects. I have really bad aspects. I try to see myself for what I am and make improvements where I think I need to.
Right. So if I asked you, have you ever told lies before? What would you say? Would you admit to lying, or
Oh yeah.
have you ever stolen something, taken something that didn't belong to you?
Oh, he
Regardless
knows
of
all
what
this
it is?
stuff,
Oh yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Who's he copying now? What's the name of that guy?
Went to prison. When I was
Because
19,
Graham's been
stole
emulating him.
drugs.
Well, thank you for being honest. Have you ever taken the name of God in vain?
Oh yeah. I had a whole stream dedicated to blaspheming the name of God.
Oh, what's his name now?
Well, thank you for your honesty. Have you ever committed
It's that
adultery?
preacher in
No,
California.
I've never been married.
Okay. Have
He's
you ever
following his
looked at
narrative,
someone
which
with,
is okay. I
sexual
mean,
desire?
Oh, I've had sex lots of times. Yes.
Okay. So
Oh, what's
I
the name
appreciate
of
your
it?
honesty. I'm
Oh,
just trying to
do
see
my
where
head
you're
in now
here. So
because I've listened to
I'm
a
not
fair
telling
bit
you
of his
something.
I had
preaching.
sex with myself earlier today.
Ray
We
Comfort.
don't need to know that.
But I mean, everybody does it. It's normal.
Yeah, Kevin is mimicking Ray Comfort. And I don't suppose there's any real harm in it,
But I mean, almost everybody does it.
So you admit
The
that
freak,
you've
the
lied,
Muslim.
stolen, blasphemed, lusted, all these
Oh,
things, right? You admit you've done these things.
Oh yeah.
so have
Right.
you, Kevin.
And the Bible says that those are sin, right? The Bible says
Kevin, so have you. We don't know what you do behind the camera. Frankly, I'm not interested.
that sin is the transgression of the law. So the things I was asking you, I was quoting you to, is from Exodus chapter 20. It's called the Ten Commandments. And that's the standard that God's going to judge us by. So right now, you're like a man that's hanging on the edge of the cliff, and you're holding onto a broken stick, right? And your sins
Oh,
are that stick, and it's slowly decaying, right? And you're bound to fall into this cliff, down this cliff to your doom. Jesus is at the.
I'd say the only thing that's like decaying or like I'm on a cliff with is paying my rent every month. That's about the only thing. Yeah, I don't see your point. So in my belief, and I know you probably say otherwise, but I think you do all those things as well.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not claiming to be perfect. I've lied, stolen, cheated.
yeah,
I've fornicated. I've done all these things.
You're just trying to prove that.
But the difference.
Listen, Kevin, I understand why, because you're trying to prove your narrative. Like we did. I don't white knight for atheists. I hate atheism, but I don't hate atheists, right? I don't lie about them. I don't lie to them. I hardly ever speak to any now. I mean, I have done. I've witnessed to Catholics and stuff years ago, right? They know all this stuff. Why are you mimicking Ray Comfort? The only difference between you and Rage is that you're trying to prove he's not a Christian. You are a Christian, but you're trying to prove this Osas narrative that he was never saved in the first place. Heard it before, Kevin. Heard it before.
Difference is is that I have been forgiven.
Yes. All
And
right. I didn't know
I'm
you were
trying
going to
to
get
show
to that because I'm a couple of minutes. In fact, I'll move it forward. I'm not really. I'll leave it.
you that you're in great danger. So we can't save ourselves.
We
Right?
need praise. This is the
dressed
sort
will
of thing
fall
that
down
praise comes out with. I think women are objects for pleasure for men. Math pig. Women need not have orgasms. I don't think of women in that fashion. I don't think of them as being objects or whatever. The only thing that annoys me really is these liars over in Praise's channel.
that cliff. Hypothetically, speaking.
So I mean, so like, what sends you to hell? Like, does sex before marriage send you to hell?
Well, the Bible says we are already condemned because we have not believed. But yeah, see, I mean, just sinning one time, you'd have to live a perfect life and never do anything wrong ever. Just to make it to
So
heaven.
if a child
Only
gets
perfect-
raped, if a child gets raped, does she go to hell?
I don't understand the question.
Well, I just asked you if sex before marriage will send you to hell. You said, yeah, pretty much. Like, if you sin once, we're all condemned, whatever. So, I mean, I was assuming you were giving me the affirmative on that. And if that's your belief, then I'm asking, well, if a child gets raped, does she go to hell? Because that is sex before marriage.
Well, has the child sinned? Has the child believed the gospel?
So that was going to be one of my questions, actually. So
Because
does baptizing mean anything? Because let's say the child was baptized, but like say, is the child old enough? Let's use like a recent example. Let's say the child is 10 years old. Is she old enough to have had that eureka moment where the perfect spirit comes into her and she can no longer sin? Does the baptizing mean anything, or does it not?
Well, time out. Before we get into baptism, I just want to say that how this doesn't. What you're saying, I'm not following here. I don't know if you. How is being raped? The person that's being raped, it's not their fault they're being raped. That's on the rapist.
But
So why would the child be?
It's still technically sex before marriage.
Yes, but it's forced sex. How would hold that against them
Awesome.
being raped?
Cool. Yeah, that's just what I was asking.
Okay. Now, what were you asking about baptism?
Well, because you were saying, well, is the child, is she, I don't know, is she like a real Christian? I guess essentially, is she truly saved? And I was like, well, that's the question, right? Like you said, you described this like eureka moment where the perfect spirit fills you, and whatever it is, and let's say the child was baptized, but the child is 10 years old and hasn't had that eureka moment yet. So I don't know. Is she saved? Does the baptizing mean anything?
No, baptism doesn't save you. It's an outward expression of an inward cleansing that has already taken place. It's just an outward expression to the world, like I decided to follow Christ. That's all baptism is. And as far as a child being accountable to God, I believe in what's called the age of accountability. And I get this from the book of Samuel. David sinned. He had Bathsheba's husband murdered so he could have. And she got pregnant and she had a child and the baby died. And David said that he will go to be where the child is. And David repented. We know he was one of the Old Testament patriarchs. He's a prophet. He's definitely in heaven. So he was claiming that the baby went to heaven. So I don't believe that people, young children that don't have the knowledge to understand the difference between right and wrong or comprehend what the gospel is. God has mercy on those people in a state of innocence. They, by default, go to heaven. I don't think he condemns those who don't have the intellectual. Or the same thing with someone like a mental illness, right? Like someone that's born mentally handicapped that can't understand things. Like God has mercy on those people.
Fucking quiet on there. What's going on? What's happening?
And I wanted to get back to what we were talking about when I was asking
And
you about.
they didn't hear any of my shit. For some reason, I muted the wrong button. So I'm trying to mute, like when you're talking, I'm trying to mute here so I don't overtalk you. And I muted my screen. So they didn't hear any of that that I just said, unfortunately.
So I want to get back to. So I was asking you the Ten Commandments and things you've broken, and I was trying to. You admitted that you have, and I was trying to show you that you are condemned already. You stand guilty, and the only way to escape that guilt is by believing what Christ paid. And if you do that, you'll grant you everlasting life. You'll change. And that's the only way to escape the wrath. I agree with you.
I'm guilty about bad things though. It's like fornicating, right? Like having sex outside of marriage. Again, I've never been married. Don't really believe in the establishment of marriage for me personally. It's a personal decision. You know, I had true feelings for every person that I've slept with in my life. True feelings. Never intended to do them any harm. I don't have any regrets. I might have regrets about like particular arguments where I didn't handle shit well, but like I have no regrets, like or no feelings of that I should be feeling some kind of way about the fact that I had sex outside of marriage. I see it as a very human thing. I don't think that I'm sinning if I have consensual sex with a partner as an adult.
Right. So, with all due respect, I don't believe you. I think deep down you know it's wrong and you just chose to ignore it.
No, deep down I think it feels good.
Well, of course it feels good. We're men, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying in the back of your mind, you know, you internally know that it's wrong, but you chose to do it anyway. That's what
If it's consensual, how could it be wrong? If
because,
if I'm not like, physically hurting them, like, because even if like, so for me, like if somebody asks me to like physically hurt them, even if it's consensual, I'm not going to do that, right? But I don't see how or why I should feel something's wrong if it's not wrong.
and then this is where we're going to get into the morality discussion that you wanted to talk about earlier. So my standard, right, is God Himself, is the Bible. He declares what is right, what is wrong, what is permissible, what is not permissible. And I believe, and I think it can be tested, I think humanity would agree, is that we have the law written on our heart. So every time we do something wrong, we have a conscience that, you can meet, somebody in a different culture, and it doesn't matter. It's unanimous. Everyone would, knows in their heart that stealing is wrong, killing someone is wrong. These things are facts that exist, right? I mean, you would agree that murder is a bad thing to do, right?
Yes, unless it's, unless I'm like killing somebody to defend my child, right?
Right, I would agree with that. Yes, right. I don't have a problem with home defense or.
But you did say murder. You didn't say killing. So yes, I agree. Murder,
Yeah.
cold-blooded murder for sure. Wrong.
Right. Now, my standard. I mean, and would you agree? Do you have a conscience that tells you murder is bad?
Yes.
Okay. Where did that conscience come from?
I mean, it could come from a lot of things, right? So morality itself is the differentiation of intentions, decisions, and actions between those that are distinguished as proper and those that are improper. It can be a body of standards or principles derived from a code of conduct from a particular philosophy, religion, or culture. or can be derived from a standard that a person believes should be universal. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I have morality. I think I have a conscience inside that tells me murder bad. I think it's a very simple morality. I think it stems pretty much from a simple basis, although there's a lot more to it. But it's essentially um, when your mother tells you not to touch the stove until you touch the stove, you're not going to know what she's talking about. But once you feel that pain, you realize, hey, I don't like that, and I don't want other people to feel that. So it's a very simple morality. I think I derive it from my parents, from my culture. Um, yeah, sure.
So I believe conscience is God given and society shaped. But here's the thing I disagree with is that you don't have to murder somebody to know it's wrong. Right.
Sure. I've never murdered anybody.
Exactly. Right. But the analogy you gave is that if you turn on the hot stove, you won't know that it's going to hurt unless you touch the stove. But that analogy doesn't work in all things when it pertains to morality.
Well,
Because
I understand
What
that
is
murdering
he on
somebody is
about,
going
really?
to hurt that person, though. So, I know that I don't want to be murdered, so I can infer that I should not go murdering people, right? Yeah, I think it's pretty simple.
Okay. So, in your opinion or your worldview, why would it be wrong to murder
Just vote. All right.
someone?
So, you think that that atheists, because I'm an atheist, because I believe in evolution, um, that um, that I can't have a morality, or at least I can't think that something is wrong, right?
No, I'm saying you can have thoughts of things that are right and wrong. But my argument is that you have no basis to determine what is right and wrong.
I have
It's
no
just your
basis to
opinion.
determine what is right. So, if you're correct in that, that means that the religion, particularly monotheism, I would say you're probably arguing for Christian monotheism. Um, that would be necessary for establishing a moral basis, right?
I would yes, I would say that without God, there are no such thing as morals. There's no such thing as truth.
Right.
I think God isn't necessary. He has to exist for other things to exist.
So when did this moral basis begin? Was it when Christianity was established in the first century CE, or Judaism? I think that was like what, somewhere around 1800 BCE.
No, I would
That would
say
be the Christian monotheism, right?
well, I would say that morals have always existed because it's part of God. It's what He says is right and wrong. He's eternal, so therefore His morals have always existed. As far as back as you want to go, the first human beings, which I believe were Adam and Eve, they had a God-given conscience to tell them right and wrong before
Well,
God even wrote anything down.
but I mean, if your assumption were true, because I mean, you agree that we need monotheism, right? Like monotheism is necessary for establishing a moral basis. If that assumption were true, moral code could not exist before monotheism, before mankind had monotheism.
But the thing is the moment that man came into being, the moment he was existed, monotheism is man has always known it. They've always known the true God.
So, are you a younger creationist?
That's a little off topic, but yes, I am.
All right, so you think the Earth is 6,000 years old, but let me. So, like the true history of the Earth, like I said, Judaism
Hey,
is
Ray, mind if a friend wants to join? Do you mind if I add him to the stream?
sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'd have to adjust my screen, but yeah, no problem.
That'll be Graham.
All right. So I invited my good friend Graham in here. So yeah, please continue. He'll probably chime in a little bit, but yeah, I just want to get a little one-on-one with you.
Actually, you guys, because I'm not going to be able to pay attention for a second, I'm going to have to completely fix my screen now, which is no problem at all. But so, I don't know, just talk for a moment. It's going to take me just a couple minutes to do this.
Well, are you using OBS?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. Right. Yeah. All right, Graham. Welcome to the stream. I'm sure you probably have a couple of questions for Rage. Oh, and Rage. By the way, I never got your real name. Do you mind telling me your real first name? Or no?
Oh, yeah, I do use it now. All right, yeah. I do use it now because of Smokey Saint, actually. My name is Ronnie.
All right, Ronnie. Well, I'm Kevin. Nice to meet you. So, Yeah, I'm happy we've had this exchange. This is what I was trying to do with you before we were rudely interrupted by that demonic scumbag that in no way represents Christianity whatsoever. So anything he's ever said to you, please just ignore it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He twists and perverts God's word and he hates it.
Well, I'm not sure about demonic, but we can probably definitely say pedo.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's a demonic thing to do.
Yeah, semantics. I mess with it.
Well, he's saying he doesn't believe in demons.
Right. I understand that. Yes.
But you agree that it's evil. Right?
Yes.
And not just the pedophilia, but how he treats people.
Yes.
Hmm.
All right, I got one up. Just two more to go. So yeah, keep talking to me. I'll try like easy questions like this, and then once I'm done with this, we'll get back into the meat of what we were talking about.
Well, yeah, we'll just keep chatting.
What meat?
And as a reminder for me, what we were talking about was monotheism. But the question that I'm going to ask you when you're free is, it seems to me that you're conflating belief in monotheism with the reality of monotheism, which I understand that you reject, but from our perspective, it is the reality. So it didn't need to wait for people to believe in monotheism for it to be real.
Even by that though, right? So like if you're arguing that God's been around since the very beginning, I was going to go into young Earth, but there's really no need to because I think the argument still works. I definitely think the argument still works. So even by that argument, right? So God's been around, morality's been around, morality's been around since before even God's since humans had these monolithic religions. Then there's no way you could sit here and say that as an atheist I can't have a basis for my morality when clearly I can, even if I don't see it's God. Then by your definition and what you're arguing here, that morality has always been here.
Rage, you're conflating two issues. The point that we're trying to make, and I hope that I can make it well now, is that you have no epistemological basis for claiming that morality exists if atheism is true. So morality does exist, and from your view, it exists as an opinion. At best, surely.
Right, and that's its own problem because you can have two people that disagree on what's right or wrong. So how do you determine which one of them is correct?
Well, again, I mean that's just people are right and wrong all the time. I don't get the point of your question.
So it doesn't mean anything. It's
I just saw, like I said, I was just reviewing two Christians earlier that were disagreeing quite a bit on a lot of different things.
Well, if you're talking about my discussion with Jamie Russell, that was a discussion between a Christian and a heretic. He's not.
Oh, right, yeah.
And this is another issue we need to address with you as well, Rage. What is the definition of Christian? And we've sort of looked at that.
Somebody who is in Christ.
Christians, and there are people who aren't actually
I don't know. I think if you call yourself Christian, in my opinion, now as an atheist, then you're a Christian.
So if I call myself Napoleon Bonaparte, I am.
No, that's
no. I mean,
totally different thing, really. Graham, dummy.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah,
but that's not the only way people define Christian. And the Bible has.
I could argue, Graham, that you are not a Christian. I don't know any Christian that I've met face to face. And some of the people who I've communicated with on YouTube that would delete the italics from the King James Bible. You are a fool, Graham. A poser.
About being a Christian. It's not good enough to just believe that Jesus died. You have to have trusted him. The Bible makes that clear. Right. You have to have trusted him for forgiveness of sins.
All right, so
I have.
Direction with this, right? Like so.
30 years ago, nearly 31.
That, it can come from.
I know he's not talking about me. I don't know. Who cares?
It can come from particular philosophy, religion, or culture. So it can be cultural, or it can be derived from a standard that a person believes should be universal. But I'll come, and I'm not a scientist, but I'll come at this from like a science kind of way, right? So, like, if you have empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, then you can develop a moral code that is innate. The science that supports empathy is found in mirror neurons in the brain. These are the neurons that fire when you relate to other people's experiences. And, like, this has happened to both of you, right? Like, it doesn't take God. It's just these neurons in your brain fire off. If you're watching like a football game and a dude gets hit really hard and you cringe inwardly, that's those neurons firing off. I mean, so I know you guys want to say that it's God, and I'll accept it. I'll say, I'll accept that God, long before mankind ever even thought of God. 'Cause, we know that morality was developed around the same time we developed language and art, which would have been about 50,000 years ago. Right? So
hang on.
if you want to,
know-
real quick, I'm almost done. If you,
How do you know that?
well, I mean, that's what science says.
Really? So who was there?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
Were you
that-
were you there
this is
6,000
what-
years ago?
That's what people claim. People claim it, but you don't know.
I know
that.
you guys
For
don't
sure.
believe in evolution,
You weren't
so
there.
it's kind of pointless, right?
Yeah, but you're saying you know it. That's what we know. We
Well,
can't be
that's
sure of
that's
that
that's
because we
what's
can't go back.
that's what
We can't
science
go
says.
back.
Neither can
No.
you. That's
No.
the thing.
No. Science doesn't say anything. And some scientists claim that, and other scientists deny it.
Right. So you're right. Science is what we can observe, test,
So
demonstrate. We can
so
observe
when
that.
when did we get that morality?
Exactly.
6,000 years ago when it all started.
No,
Well,
I've
you're
already
making
told you
one
that.
claim and we're making another, but it's not a scientific claim, it's a historical claim. It's a belief claim because you can't experiment on that, you can't observe it. Your claim about the past cannot be observed, and that is scientific. You have to observe it, you have to experiment on it, and you have to repeat it. That's science.
So
Well, it is
I-
science.
I did preface all of that I'm not a scientist. Right?
Yeah, I know, but you're
You're-
saying science says
You're,
it.
you're
You
not a
say
scientist.
science
You're
says
not
it.
a scientist
You're saying
either.
science says it. Yeah, I know, and you're saying science says it, and
And
I'm
you're
saying
saying
science doesn't.
And
say
you're
it.
saying science doesn't say it.
Yeah, science doesn't say that because it's
Right.
not.
Scientists say things, but science
It's-
itself doesn't say anything.
It's a claim about the past, and that is not
Right.
science. Look up the definition of science.
All right.
Science is experimentation, observation, and repetition.
So when did humans start developing morality,
According to whose claims?
according to yours?
Well, in our worldview, God existed before he created anything, and he created the first human beings in his image at the very beginning on the sixth day of creation.
All right. So it's my position that if you derive your morality from God, you must be immoral.
If we develop our morality,
If you derive your morality from God,
from God,
you must be immoral.
yes, we must be immoral. Why?
Do you think genocide is immoral?
When human beings do it, yes.
Well, I mean,
Unless
I
they're
didn't.
commanded
Well,
by God.
I just asked a general question. It's funny that you say when human beings do it. Genocide is genocide.
Well,
immoral?
I'm answering the question. I answered the question. You don't like my answer.
Yes or no?
Because you want me to give it to.
Is-
Yeah, so you want me to give just a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
As no, that
Yes or
is
no?
the
Is
answer.
genocide wrong? What's the
It's
problem?
the only possible answer.
So it's possible for genocide not
You're
to be immoral.
conflating.
Or-
Correct, because God has the power of death and life, and He has commanded death upon all human beings because all have sinned.
See, so my position is if you derive your morality from an immoral thing, you cannot be moral.
Because your morality is derived from yourself.
So, in your opinion,
And you are
genocide-
immoral. You've admitted
I
that
think
you are immoral.
are you admitting
So
that
your
genocide
morality
is moral?
immoral.
Are you saying that genocide
Ronnie,
is moral?
Ronnie, you're trying to create a moral standard, but you have admitted that you're moral, but your morality derives from you. So your morality is immoral.
Wait, I thought you said it came from God.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are holding
that's
to the
what
facts
goes.
and morality.
But that's not your standard. Your standard isn't God. I didn't say that your standard comes from God.
Well,
So
no, but
once
I
again,
mean that. Well,
you're conflating separate issues.
Kevin was arguing that with my historical argument, right? So I went back to the beginning of Judaism, which would be the beginning of monolithic, the son of the God of Abraham type monotheism. And he said even before that, the morality was there because God was always there. You said that so yourself.
Yes.
You said morality is always there. So even
Yes,
by that argumentation,
but you don't have that
my
morality.
morality
You
would
deserve
come
that morality.
from your God. Thankfully, I'm glad it doesn't.
But
Because
the
my,
reason,
my
but you
position
don't-
is that your God is
Ronnie,
immoral. So if you
you're
derive
not
your
listening.
morality from that God,
Ronnie.
then you are indeed immoral.
Oh, but you're trying to conflate three different issues at the same time. You're not deriving your morality from God.
right, we're saying in our worldview, that's where morality comes from. But from your perspective, in your worldview, if God doesn't exist, then your morals are coming from yourself.
Well, no, you
keep
said
jumping
that
from
in
topic to
rebuttal.
topic.
You said that in rebuttal to my historical argument because you understood that I was going to show you what history shows you is that there were indeed cultures, there were indeed religions before your Christian monotheism, and in fact, before even all of those
You can't show
religions,
me that.
there were a primitive man.
You can't show me that.
There
because
is
you
a
can't show
plethora
me.
of evidence for it. Go and talk to any evolutionary biologist.
Oh, evidence. So that's not proving it. See, that's not how evidence works. Evidence doesn't prove something, it's evidence for something. And then you can also have evidence.
This is only a minor point. I might look up the equivalent word in Greek, possibly. But the word morality, moral, is not found in Scripture. Perhaps an extremely minor point, but I'm just saying anyway. Neither is tolerance.
It's against something. You've got to stack up all of the evidence to come to a conclusion. And then you've got to understand things correctly. But you can't go back and actually see it because it's already passed.
Cool beans.
Well, show me. Show me history happening. Show me these
Show you
religions that
history
existed
happening.
before monotheism. Show me.
I need to show you the great kingdoms of Samaria now and their religions that they had.
To prove the claim that you're making, yes. You're making a claim that those religions existed before monotheism.
Just for my audience, we'll cover
but
up
you can't show me.
Andrew here for a minute.
And now you're admitting you can't show me.
I made that today, just kind of quickly, earlier today before I left and did my shit. That's my original argument from God's morality.
So you're making the claim, Ronnie, you're making the claim that there were other religions before monotheism, and that history shows us. Well, show me.
I don't have Satan's power. I can't take you to a mountain and show you all the kingdoms of the world and all the history of the world.
That's exactly my point. So history can't show me.
God,
it's just a claim. It's a claim that you're making, and I make the counterclaim that's not true. God says otherwise.
It's a claim that scientists make and evolution makes.
Oh, once again, scientists.
What evidence?
And then there's
show
other
me
people.
your evidence that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
I'm not trying to claim that you must believe that.
Right.
See,
okay,
Ronnie, let's talk about what I want to talk about then. Since you want to put it on me, I'm not trying to prove to you that the Earth is 6,000 years old. You're the one that made the claim that it isn't, and that you can prove it, but you can't prove it. So let's talk about what I want to talk about. Then
I'm not a scientist. I can't prove shit.
Right. So stop claiming it. Right. Let's
I've
talk
read
about
history though.
So have I. I've read the Bible and numerous other history books. But that doesn't prove anything. That's just those claims. Let's get back to the topic of whether you're a good person or not, because you want to claim that.
Are you a good person?
Yeah, I said that I.
Graham?
Mixed bag.
Yeah, I know. I know. So that's the topic I want to talk about.
Are you a
So you
good
admitted that
person,
you told
Graham?
lies. What do you call someone who tells lies?
Oh no, not Ray Comfort again.
What do you
I
call
can remember a
someone?
time in my life where like
It's a simple question.
80% of the things I said was a lie.
Yeah, okay. That doesn't answer the question. What do you call someone who tells a lie?
A liar.
A liar.
Yeah.
What do you call someone who's stolen? What do you call someone who blasphemes God's name?
Reprobate.
Blasphemer.
Yeah, that works too. I prefer a reprobate.
Well, reprobate has many meanings, and blasphemy would only be one cause of reprobation.
When you think of reprobate, do you see me in your mind?
I see every human being on the planet
Every
outside of
human
Christ.
That's right. Every human being is reprobate.
Every human being is
God hates
reprobate.
every human being.
He hates their sin. But he also loves them enough that he sent Jesus Christ to redeem them from their reprobation.
Amen.
So everybody's a reprobate.
Yes.
You're stealing my thunder because I thought I was like one of the few.
So, Ronnie, I still have my flesh that sins, but I also have a new spirit that is not reprobate. So I'm both reprobate and not reprobate at the same time because I have two natures. I still have a sin nature, but I also have a new
Yeah, we
spirit.
definitely gonna have to have an after party. I think.
And in every moment, I'm choosing whether to sin or not.
Every moment you're
So-
choosing whether or not to sin.
Every moment.
At every moment you choose no.
No.
You feel good about that.
Yes. In my spirit, but not in my flesh.
Are you gonna go to
Just
hell?
like you don't. No, because I've been forgiven by Jesus Christ. See, this is the gospel that you don't understand. You were never a Christian according to Scripture because you don't understand the biblical gospel. Well, it's not. It's quite sad. So you're a sinner, and if I can
It's sad to
continue
you.
with
See,
that,
sad to me is going through your life thinking this stupid shit. I mean, that's sad to me. It's sad to me that you like base your entire book,
Just finding a video
entire
for
life on
Francis.
an ancient book that means literally nothing in the modern day.
well, yes, it does because it shows us that people are sinners, and we can see that all the time,
I
every
can be
day.
just as disrespectful
And-
as you're being. I've chosen not to be up to this point.
Wait, how has
Disrespectful.
he been disrespectful?
I was just saying I can play the same game. You know, I could say
What game?
I could try to sit here and pretend like I know you guys and that you're awful fucking human beings and shit too.
Well, we
Well,
are.
I never denied that I'm not an awful human being. That's
We
why I
are,
need to
Ronnie.
Oh,
It
I don't
applies
think
to
you're
us as
awful. I think you're just misguided.
yeah. Well, we believe what God has to say, and we agree with Him. We
That's
are
where I
sinners.
think you've been misguided.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you don't want to listen to what I have to say now?
I'm listening. I'm just I don't really understand.
Well, you're getting upset and saying that I'm attacking
I'm
you
not getting
personally.
upset
I'm
at
not.
all.
I'm just-
I actually find it kind of comic. You know, this is like that whole good cop,
Yeah.
bad cop routine, right?
What is?
Like you coming in. So like Kevin pretended to be the good cop for a good solid 20 minutes, and then you come in and
No.
you're up and rowdy, and you got the balls of the couple, right?
I'm not.
You're a really weird human being, Ronnie. We're both saying the same thing. We've both said that you're a sinner.
And I'm not denying that I am.
So you
as
just
well.
think this is a game. You're not interested in sincerely having this conversation. You just think this is a game
I'm
and you just
here
wanna mock.
having it with you. Let me unmute over there. I'm here having the conversation with you, am I not? I mean,
But you're mocking.
I've
you're
been
mocking
sincere.
it at the same time.
I've been
I didn't
very
say you're not
sincere
having the
up to this
conversation.
point.
I
You-
said
you-
you're mocking it.
I mean, I would say you're the one that hasn't been sincere because you
Really?
expect me to pull up, I don't know what, all of evolution and their evidence and be able to provide it to you to show you what the actual
Well, because
history
you're
of the
making
earth
the
is.
claim.
Right? What-
And you're
what
saying
claim am I
science says
making?
it. Just show me.
What claim am I making?
You made the claim that there were
I-
other
I- I
religions
made-
that
I- I
existed
made-
before monotheism.
I made the controversial claim that there were other religions that existed before Christianity and Judaism. Oh my God. I don't think that that's very
And how would you
controversial.
How would you?
Again, I mean,
Yeah,
just
see, this, you don't
Google
want
it,
to be
yo.
sincere
Google
about
it.
it. You just want to block.
Prove to me that there wasn't religions before.
I know that claim exists, Ronnie. I'm not so moronic that I'm not aware that the claim exists, but you're claiming that that is fact. And I want you to show that it is fact. It is not fact. It is not scientific fact because you cannot observe it.
It's not fact. We can't observe it. We can't. But we don't have science. We don't have science that. So yes, I did not live 6,000 years ago. I could not observe it.
So it's not fact.
So by what you're saying right now, so everything that existed before I lived, I cannot believe to be fact.
I didn't say you can't.
That's exactly what you just said.
No, I didn't. I didn't. Do not misquote me and don't lie about me.
That's exactly what you just said.
I did not.
Are you going to get mad and triggered like the last time we talked, Graham?
If you keep mocking and lying, yes. Triggered? Yeah. See, more mockery. Triggered? Yeah.
I don't think I'm the one that's upset.
You don't have a sincere conversation. You lie about what I said. You said that's exactly what I said, and I did not use those words. That's a lie.
Rage, he's not saying that you can't believe things. He's just saying you can't scientifically prove it because you can't. We as human beings, we don't have the ability to go back in time, right? We have historic documents, historic things that we can look at for evidence to support our claims, but we can't 100% prove, like you're talking about, like evolution or the Earth is 50,000 years old. There's no way to tell that. There's so many flaws with the dating methods and other things that they use to try to come up with these dates and all this other stuff. And your claim about religions existing before monotheism, that's just a claim. What is the proof for this claim? Now you can say
it's a well-known fact. Hinduism is the oldest religion practiced on the planet. That's a well-known.
How do you know that?
How do you not know that? That's the question that needs to be asked.
No. So you can read a research paper, or whatever they can claim is the oldest religion, but how are they coming to that conclusion?
Better go ask them, dude. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you believe it.
Claim, right? That's exactly the point. How do you know that it's a fact?
Well, that's to the point. So how is that different than saying that? How can I trust anything if I wasn't there personally to observe it?
Right. So you have a problem.
So why did you get all butthurt when I said the same exact thing 5 minutes ago?
That's not. Oh, so once again, that's not what you said.
It is. Rewind the stream.
No, it isn't. That's not what I got annoyed about.
Let's
what I got annoyed about was that you claimed I was saying exactly
so we can do this for 5 minutes.
Even
you say nuh-uh, and I say uh-huh, and we'll do that for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. If you want. If that's what you'd prefer to do.
No, so what you do is, so we have claims out there. What you do is you examine the claims and see, can I find evidence for these claims? Like people claim, Jesus was crucified on the cross, right? The Bible says it. But you don't only have the Bible, you have other sources that we use to help this claim to prove that it could be true, that it's a fact, right? Like the writings of Josephus, he was a Jewish historian. They hated Jesus Christ. Even in his writings, he admitted this Jesus that was in Nazareth.
He was just a historian. That was it. I don't think he hated Jesus at all. I've never heard
what the Bible is saying.
Anyone say that before.
So what are you?
Maybe they have. I don't know. In historical documents, I've never heard anybody say that.
I think I've had 4 debates now on evolution specifically. I've also had plenty of conversations with Matt Powell, his crazy ass. I've done hours upon hours of research in that investigation. Before that, I studied evolution in school. I also was taught creationism in church. Now, when I say I studied evolution in school, it was like this little brief thing. It was, it was like biology, right?
Just reporting some spam here. Not because I'm doing anybody a favour. I'm just blocking them from my channel. reported and blocked.
Just a normal dude with a microphone. But there is a
That
plethora of
this one
evidence out
keeps
there.
coming up all the
I'm sorry
time,
that
though.
you guys don't trust the dating.
I've seen it in other
mechanisms, but
channels.
Even if you don't trust the dating mechanisms, there's written proof.
You want to know why I don't trust the dating?
Well, written proof from like the beginning of your religion, referring to these older religions. Like, I mean, so Plato was around longer than your was longer ago than your religion.
See, Ronnie, I don't even care about this. You're the one that keeps bringing this up, and I just keep pushing back and saying, no,
I'm
you're
not.
making those.
I'm
You
not.
do.
You guys.
You make
you guys
the claim.
I mean,
you
Kevin
make
just
the
went on
claim.
this whole thing there.
You keep making these claims, and
Man,
I'm
you're a
saying
little
you can't prove that.
aggravated
You
today.
say science. Why do you keep talking over the top of me?
I don't know.
Because you don't want to listen.
Probably not.
I don't even want to talk about it personally.
Oh,
And you got annoyed.
you've got to admit
Okay.
that
you got
Rage,
annoyed that I said we're not good people,
he's
but
pretty
you're really not good
straightforward.
people. So I don't understand your annoyance.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Cool.
You don't know.
Cool. Yeah, so here's the thing. So, Rage, we're not claiming to be better than you. I'm
Oh.
just as wicked as you are.
I don't
Shut up then.
So how did you get annoyed?
How did I get annoyed?
You got annoyed that we believe the Bible that says that we're not good people. And it's stupid that we believe this old book.
No, I
that
said I
doesn't
don't
have
think
the
you're
relevant-
awful.
Those were your words. Those are your
I said,
words.
No, I said I don't think you're awful people. But I didn't get annoyed. I just said I don't think you're awful people.
Well, you're either
I'm
good or
starting
you're
to change my mind about you, Graham.
Yeah, well, I don't care what you think of me. That's my purpose here isn't to get you to like me.
Cool.
You can think whatever you like. You're an independent human being, and I have no control over you. Do whatever you want with your life.
No, but you have got control over Kevin. He's a mimicker of you. I went to your channel the other day. Amazingly, I am subbed. I'm just curious. I don't listen to you. Can't stomach it, but I saw you in there with Kevin. That's okay. That's up to you. That's up to him. Blah blah. It's your channel. But it sounded like some sort of lightweight sycophancy. It's like you're in charge of Kevin, Graham. What's going on there? I mean, it's just an opinion. I'm not trying to be awful about it, but that's the discernment I got. And my discernment isn't perfect, of course, but oh well. Who cares what I think?
I would like you to believe the truth. But it's totally
Yeah.
up to you.
Yeah, I believe you, Graham.
I think I do believe the truth.
Well, I know.
That's the
I know you
problem.
I think we all think we believe the truth. I think.
Of course.
Do you know a single human being that walks around and it's like, oh shit, I am a dumbass?
But here's the
it makes-
problem.
Thanks for changing the topic.
Here's the problem, though. You say you think every human being believes they believe the truth, but from your worldview, what is truth? How do we determine truth? Where does truth come from? You see, this is the inconsistency of atheism. No disrespect, is that you want to make like truth claims and things like that, but you have no basis for truth. Truth can't exist.
Do atheists lie all the time? Do atheists have morals? Are they well behaved? And I don't like the phrase, but are they well behaved, sort of decent living atheists, even though they deny God, deny Jesus?
In a world of atheism where there's no God, there is no such thing as truth. Where are you getting truth from? How do you determine?
So atheists, okay, they deny God, they deny Jesus Christ, they don't believe the Bible. Does that mean they don't know or have no concept of what truth is? Be fair. Charitable, sorry. First principle of critical thinking, Oh well.
Where do you get truth from?
God,
How do you
God's
know?
word, yes, absolutely.
because God revealed it.
All right, cool. Give me evidence of that. Show me where you were in time that you can demonstrate that.
Silence. Crickets.
I don't understand the. Show me where you.
Oh, Graham. Kevin, mop your furrowed brows. The exasperation of you both is evident.
We're in time. I can't
Well, I mean,
show
that,
you
that was
time.
basically your whole argument for like why I can't know anything about.
Well,
it.
no, I'm not. No, because no. That's not what's going on here. I'm not asking you to believe me because I'm claiming it. I'm not saying that I'm going to show you. I didn't make the
I didn't
claim
say
you
that.
made.
I didn't say anything about you. I said that was what you said about me bringing up anything to do with evolution. That I wasn't there, and I can't know that. So show me where you were and how
You
know
asked
that
us.
God gives.
No. You asked us how we know, and we said God. We didn't say that you have to believe us, which is what your claim was, that it is true, and that everyone should know it. And you started mocking us because we don't believe it. We haven't done that to you.
Cool. So you think you get your truth from God? I think I get my truth from the Young Turks.
Yeah, but okay, so let's say you get your truth from the Young Turks, right? How do you know that they have truth? How do you know what they say is true?
Because they reveal their political slant first. So for them it's true.
And nobody
So-
else
so-
does that.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
that's
Maybe
the basis for
I
knowing whether something's
I don't
true.
know.
Is they reveal their lives.
I watch the Young Turks nonstop. I'm not here. I'm watching the Young Turks because that's what
We've told you our bias, so we must be telling the truth.
You understand? Like my example is still more reality based than yours, right? Like there is an actual young Turks, and I can sit here and I can say, well, I definitely got the truth about like this particular story from the Young Turks because no other media outlet.
TomTom34B. He's referring to Graham and Kevin, obviously. You're doing fine, he says, and your position is philosophically sound. These two clowns have just spewed out fallacies most of the time. Where is this word moral or morality in Scripture? It's not there. Minor point.
Then there could be other stories from the Young Turks where I'm like, well, I don't know
Hang
if
on.
that's true. So maybe I don't get the basis for all of my like truth from the Young Turks, but maybe some
Ronnie?
of it. What else?
How do you know? How do you know that they exist? Have you touched them?
No, not personally.
Okay, so how do you know they exist?
I guess they could be computer generated.
That's right, they could be, but you're sure that
So,
they're
but
more real.
you could be as well.
Why are you sure they're more real than God?
You could be just like a computer generated bad cop.
I'm not
version of
claiming
Kevin.
I'm real. Why are you making it about me? You claimed that the Young Turks are more real than God. How do you know that?
Because I've never seen a show with God on it.
So you have to see.
I guess Morgan
Ronnie?
Freeman's God.
Ronnie, you're claiming that you have to see something for it to exist. Have you seen your brain?
I've seen brains.
But you haven't seen your brain, so you can't be sure.
Well, obviously
your
it
brain
hasn't.
exists. Have you seen love?
I mean, I think a lot of Christians would probably say my brain doesn't exist. Probably not.
Yeah.
Point. That's not my point.
I've got to say,
At all. My point is.
I know I'm going to get falsely accused by those pigs over in Praise's channel. Raging Atheist isn't stupid. I actually like the guy. He's very straightforward, Obviously, I hate atheism. I've witnessed to people, atheists before, Muslims, Catholics. If you think it's easy witnessing to these people, I don't despise them. It's not. It's quite hard work, I'd say. Not physically. You've got to know your stuff because they will come up with every fallacious trap you can think of. But what annoys me the most, really, is Christians lying about other Christians. I think Kevin only wanted this discussion with Rage to try and prove that Rage was never a Christian, never saved, and he's implied the same about Matt Dillahunty. Now, I'm not going to white knight for Raging Atheist or Matt Dillahunty. Raging Atheist said he was a Christian and he believed. I've got no evidence to prove differently. I don't see that he's got any reason to lie. Matt Dillahunty apparently was training to be a Baptist minister. He was in college and all that sort of stuff. Can we say he was never saved? I don't know. Couldn't say for certain that he was, or Raging Atheist. But in order for these people to prove the point, because of the OSAS stuff, they have to prove that Rage, or get Rage to prove that he was never saved. And it'll prove their OSAS narrative. OSAS is, I understand it. I'm not 100% in agreement with it because of the way it's being expressed by certain people standing for truth and others. Praise isn't fully on with it. I respect that. You see, when you talk about OSAS, generally OSAS reduces down to, if you are saved, then you are always saved. But that statement I just made there is a conditional statement. If you are saved, then you are always saved. We have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. If you're once saved, always saved, why is that verse necessary? If ye abide in him, if ye love me, you will obey me. I would suggest that both Kevin and Graham have a look at these if statements. In Scripture, there's about 500 of them, if I remember correctly. Minor point. Don't listen to me because I don't know anything.
How do you know things exist? How do you know what's true? That's the point that Kevin's trying to make to you as well.
How do you know what's true,
How do you know
Gavin?
what's true?
Graham, sorry.
I guess
It's a theory, like legit question.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, let me make another point. I don't wish to labour it. But Kevin, in Praise's channel, that's up to him, that's up to them, blah, blah, was saying, well, you know, I need to go and share the gospel with Gavin Hurleyman. Well, before this disagreement with Praise, Gavin Hurleyman was very well acknowledged as being a brother in Christ by Praise I Am and others. All of a sudden now, he's lost his salvation. Poor Gavin Hurleyman. I'm sure he's shaken by it. What's going on here? Seriously though, I'm not white knighting for Gavin. I've got disagreements with Gavin, sort of. Well, not disagreements, just I don't agree with him on a couple of things. Minor things, I suppose. I mean, I could blow them out of proportion. But I believe that Gavin is saved. But Kevin doesn't believe Gavin was ever saved. So he's going to go and share the gospel with Gavin Hurleyman.
I'd say it's probably the same reasons that I don't have a morality. The same reasons for it, cultural. You guys are claiming like religious beginnings of truth. So if truth comes from God, if only the truth comes from God, again, that applies to morality. What about all of those people that lived before your version of God came along to mankind? Did they not? Were they not possible. It was not possible for them to gain truth. I think we get to truth through logic. I'm
But
just
once
not very
again-
good at logic sometimes.
But there's a problem here that logic also is a thing that doesn't exist without God.
Oh, how do you know that?
How you're trying to make logical claims in reasoning.
I mean,
How do you know?
So you, I mean, Bram was talking about making claims. So now you're making a claim. Logic cannot exist without God. All right, prove that claim.
Right, there has to be something that is static, something that is independent of itself for all other things to exist. If there's not something that is outside of our universe, outside of time that is static, then nothing else can exist.
Logic has
Explain
laws,
that,
right?
Kevin.
There are
Exactly.
laws to logic. The laws of non-contradiction, for example.
Got this from Darth Dawkins a long time ago.
Right. So yes, you agree. Where did those laws come from, and how do you know that they haven't changed? And why can't they just change? Why can't you believe in different
So I'm
laws?
assuming you
Oh, you're
think they come
kidding.
from God. How do you know that? How can you prove that?
Those truth statements
Well,
are so
I'm
obviously
asking you, where
true.
else would they come from? What I'm trying to suggest to you,
Human
you're trying to jump
it's a
ahead of
human construct.
you're trying to jump ahead of me and assume that I'm proving the conclusion immediately. I'm trying to walk through this step by step. What other source could there be? There has to be a mind.
Why?
Because
I'll be listening.
laws
But
of-
I got to go make my daughter take a shot, so I'll be right back.
Okay, but laws of logic are in the mind. So they have to exist in a mind. Unless you're going to believe that laws of logic can change. And so they only exist in human minds. So they're only our construct. Once again, they're just our opinion. They don't mean anything. And if that's true, then how does science exist? Because science relies upon unchangeable laws of logic to be able to do observation that is repeatable. If it's not repeatable, it can't be trusted. That's one of the rules of science.
Right. So, Graham, so you're saying that science also depends on logic?
Oh, well, science depends on logic, absolutely. Science
Right.
can't exist without logic, and it has to be an unchanging logic so that the science can be repeated. Otherwise, it's not science. Science relies on repetition. It has to be true all the time. Otherwise, it's not science.
Oh, is Kevin struggling?
And so that relies on the laws of logic not changing. For the laws of logic not to change, there has to be an eternal mind.
Right. And that's what I was getting at, that there has to be something outside of everything for everything else to be.
Because the laws of logic don't exist as a function of chemicals. They're not a property of the natural world.
Right. And then that would get into this point of immaterial things exist.
Sounds like you're back, Ronnie. Any comment on any of that so far?
It sounds like Darth Dawkins regurgitated.
Well, I don't know Darth Dawkins, so I'm not regurgitating anything. These are thoughts that I've had myself, and I'm asking you what thoughts you have on it.
Graham, you're making a claim, right? Logic comes from God, God's mind.
Well, yes, I am making a claim and also asking questions.
Well, prove that
Is
claim.
there other possibilities?
Prove that claim.
Well,
Where were you in time when you saw that happen?
Oh, so this is just a big game to you. I'm trying to ask you what other possibilities.
What do you expect from an atheist, Graham? Please. Do not expect an atheist to behave like a Christian.
Possibility is there? I'm not making a claim about
what
time.
other possibility is there? Is that human beings exist?
Oh, by the way, just to steal man, Graham, I don't believe he's had any interaction with Darth Dawkins. I would have noticed. He isn't on Clubhouse. Not that I've looked. No, I don't think he's mimicking Darth Dawkins. Maybe not. Oh, it's possible, because I've put a lot of his stuff up on my channel. Darth Dawkins.
We, in that existence, we construct things. We construct.
So we can construct our own laws of logic.
We
We
observe
can change
things.
them.
we observe things, right? Like so, as humans, we're just fallible. So I guess what I guess what I could dictate as logic, you could dictate as hogwash. I mean, I certainly think that most of what you dictate as logic is hogwash. So I wouldn't blame you for it. But ultimately, I mean, if you're making a claim, like, so my claim is like humans, we create constructs. I think we can observe that in reality. If you're making a claim that logic ultimately comes from God and that's your claim, well, then show me how you've observed that in reality and prove your claim.
Well, that's why I'm trying to have this discussion with you. You're presenting the alternative that it comes from human beings, but we're flawed creatures.
Yeah, he's asking you to prove what you're saying. That's all he's doing, Graham.
You've agreed. So the laws of logic aren't infallible. They're just whatever we believe they could be. So they could be wrong. Everything that we think we know could be wrong if you're right. We can't know anything for sure.
I mean,
Because you're claiming
One of the truth laws is that P cannot equal not P at the same time.
well, no,
that the laws of
that was your claim, yo. What are you talking about? How am I claiming that we
I'm
can't
not-
know anything for sure? I mean, I'm pretty sure 2 + 2 = 4, but I guess by what you've been arguing, I can't be sure of that. Right?
I'm not claiming that. I'm claiming that based on your belief about the world, how can you
No,
be sure?
he's asking you about your belief, Graham. He knows what he believes.
I'm
Apparently.
asking you, how can you be sure of that?
How can you be sure of anything?
But I'm not asking you about 2 + 2 = 4. That's an axiom. That's something
Sure.
that we declare to be true, and we have universally agreed that 2 is defined as that thing that is half of 4, that is twice 1, that is like self-referential axiomatic claims. I'm asking you about the laws of logic.
Cool.
If they are based in human beings who you agree are fallible, how can we trust the laws of logic? And therefore, how can we trust science, which is based on the laws of logic?
I don't think
Right.
I don't know.
Right. So you can't be sure based on your
So
worldview.
your claim is that we can trust them because they come from God.
Because there's an eternal, unchanging, infallible
Cool.
mind.
That's your claim. That's your claim. So prove that to me. Show me where you were in time, where you saw that happen, or give me some observation that you made in reality where you could observe that happening.
It's got nothing to do with time, Ronnie. I know you're trying to play this game because I did that to you earlier, but that had to do with time because you were making historical claims. I'm not making a historical claim. I'm making a logical claim.
Oh, so it's different now.
Well, because
Yeah.
I'm not making a historical claim. I'll keep repeating myself until you understand English, but I'm not making a historical claim. I'm making a logical claim. I'm not claiming that something happened in the past.
Graham, the next time you want to talk to me, you can schedule it with me. I came here to talk to Kevin, dude.
Okay.
I went along with the farce for a while because I thought it was funny, but I honestly I think it's pretty fucking pathetic, Kevin.
But Rage, I asked you if it was okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the moment, if you want to do it, but to let him come in here and dominate this conversation for you, are you some kind of like wussy boy that can't fucking talk
Yeah,
for yourself?
that's
I don't know
right.
what's going on here?
Rage noticed it.
Hold on.
Rage noticed it. I noticed it in Graham's stream the other day. Rage is onto it. I think he's been over to that channel. Why did he need to bring Graham in? I mean, Rage allowed it. That's okay. That's up to him. Kevin did ask. But why? Why? 2-on-1.
Well, I've been
Ray
courting with you, but I'm
Comfort
not going to allow
much.
you to start disrespecting me. So
I mean, what
we're
else
gonna
am I
continue.
supposed to think from the whole good cop, bad cop thing? And then the last 40
There
minutes
was no
has been
good
nothing
cop,
but
bad cop.
bad cop. I mean,
We
I've
were
talked to
saying-
Graham before. Like I said, if Graham wanted to talk to me, he could have reached out to me, and I would have decided on whether or not I was going to talk to his crazy ass. I was
I asked you if it was okay. You said
no,
yes.
it's fine. Cool. Let him back in. I don't care.
You know the mistake you two made?
So
Just
I
thinking
get
that
astounded.
Rage
I'm like,
is
what is
stupid.
this? You let this dude come in and just like dominate your stream. Now I got to fix everything again. All right, so let me fix it. But honestly, like, we'll just go up here. They can still hear it. I don't really. Uh, this was really aggravating. I'm not gonna lie. Um, let's talk about this for a moment. So your position is, I as an atheist, I can have no morality, correct?
No.
Where I can't have a basis for my morality. So I can't know what's true. That was just what we were going through. As an atheist, I can't have basis for truth. So I can't, inwardly, I can't do research. I can't make decisions for myself. And if I do make decisions for myself, they can't possibly be by any truth whatsoever. That's pretty much what I've gotten from the last, 30, 40 minutes of this conversation.
Right. I'm saying you can hold to some form of morality. What I'm saying is that you have no basis for it. Like why is it moral? And from your worldview, you can't really, honestly answer that question because it's all just opinion.
Well, you guys answer it with God, but then I ask you to display that, how, prove that, and you can't prove that. Just like I can't prove evolution, right? Like I can't pull, I don't know, how long since Darwin first started with the shits. However many years of evolution.
Oh, God doesn't have to be something that's proved because he's made obvious through creation. Right? Like everyone, now I know you'll probably disagree with this statement, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Everyone, you go outside and you look at things, right? The fact that the universe exists at all, we have trees, clouds, birds, all these animals, all the way down to the DNA molecules, right? This is obviously put together by someone because DNA is so complex, it's like a coding.
Yeah, go on.
Everything that exists, you go outside, it's very illogical. Like the tree can't just come from nothing or create itself. Like there has to be an ultimate cause for all other things to exist.
Yeah.
And that's not just things that are physical, that's things that are immaterial as well, like the laws of logic, such as the laws that hold the universe together, like the thermodynamics, gravity, all these other things. We can't observe these things, but we know that they exist because we can do scientific experiments.
Yeah, so do
And we can
atheists.
actually observe
They
under
know
a
that.
microscope, things like that. So creation bears witness that there's a creator, and that's exactly what Romans chapter 1 says. That men know God exists, but they suppress the truth in unrighteousness. So I don't have to prove to you that God exists. It's obvious that he exists. You're just suppressing that.
So we can know that gravity exists, right? We can know, and we can observe it in reality. You observe it every time you jump and you come down.
Well, I just said that. I just said that we can observe these things scientifically, but we can't see them.
No, we can't see them.
Right, and that's my point. So it's something that's immaterial. So it's something that can't be seen, but we can see what it does.
What things have you observed that would lend you to believe that God, if it exists, its presence is here on Earth?
The fact that there is creation at all, to me, is obvious that there is a God.
I can say the same. You can say the same exact thing about evolution because there's because the things live.
Let him answer.
Evolution. It's exactly what you
No.
said about God.
It's not though, because what was in the beginning in evolution? If you want to use the Big Bang model, where did the energy come from to create the Big Bang? You have an infinite regress. Without God, there's an infinite regress of something. No, everything comes from one source, and that's God.
Right. So say it's God. Then how do you know it's Christian God?
Well, that's where you have to do digging. You have to look into it.
Well, give me that evidence.
But you still haven't answered my claim or my question.
What's that?
So I'm saying that I believe that God is the cause for everything that exists. Now, if you're going to take God out of the equation, you have an infinite regress. How does creation get here without a creator? And then if you go back to the Big Bang model, where does the energy come from to create the Big Bang?
To create the Big Bang.
So maybe it was Wonka Tonka.
Excuse me?
Maybe Wonka Tonka put the energy there.
Oh, you're joking. You're not being serious.
No, I'm being very serious. Maybe walk and talk with the Great Spirit, put that energy there.
Okay, but that's not an atheistic worldview.
No, that's a native.
Right.
That's a Native American
But
universal. It's actually it's like a Lakota
So
Sioux.
I'm not dealing with a Native American claim or anything like that. I want to deal with what you believe.
Well, I'm asking you, how do you know that your God was there to put that energy there for the Big Bang?
I just told you have to look
And
into.
I don't think that we know first. I don't think we know at all that there was any energy there. I don't think that we can go. We can't go through what was it, Pre-Clayton. We don't,
Well,
we
I
don't know
personally
what
don't
exists
believe
before
that
that.
at all. But I'm assuming that's what you believe. Maybe I should have asked you first.
I mean, I think it's a more rational explanation for the beginning of the universe than God pooped it all into existence 6,000 years ago.
Why?
Because we know that the universe is there. I go again. They say the universe is a lot older than 6,000 years old, my dude.
Okay, well that's fine. I don't care. I don't care if you want to say the universe is.
And we have ways of like kind of determining that. Like they can measure like light that they're getting from stars and how long that light takes here to get here, right? But like you would say, oh, that's inaccurate. That's just dumb people being dumb, right?
Well, yeah, because it's impossible to measure that amount of distance. Because
We can definitely measure beyond 6,000 years. Right?
anyway, back to this. Where does reality come from, Rage? Like in your worldview, not the Native American worldview or the Muslim or whatever, in the atheistic worldview that you hold to, how did everything
What do you mean? Where does reality come from?
existence, creation, the universe, everything that exists, where does it come from?
I've answered that like a billion times this entire stream. So human beings, we construct things.
No. That's not what I'm asking. Where do human beings come from? Where do trees come
So
from?
I exist. I exist. I open my eyes every morning. Therefore, I observe reality. So I can observe it, right?
Well, let me try again because I don't know if you're just misunderstanding me. No, I'm asking. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about all humans, all animals, plants, stars, whatever. Where does everything come from? How did all these things get here?
Well, I mean, so I think that depends on who you ask. So like Kent Hovind would tell you,
No,
God.
I'm asking you. I don't care about Kent. I want to know what you think.
So
You don't care about
this is going
Ken
to be funny,
Hovind.
but people in my side chat that have been around long enough to know when I had these kinds of conversations where we center around this evolution, creation type of shit. My answer is always, I wasn't there and I don't know. I have no fucking idea. I don't know. Now, I think evolution would tell you through the process of abiogenesis, life began on Earth. Am I a scientist that can tell you what abiogenesis is? Hell, I have no fucking idea. Never have. Never. I don't know what it is. Don't care. I don't know. I wasn't there.
So here's the problem. So abiogenesis is unscientific in itself, but you have to still have some sort of matter before other things can come to be, right? Like you have to have water and things to eat.
Where did you get your PhD?
I don't have one. I only did a year of college.
You did more than me, my dude. What I'm saying is, I don't know. I don't know what they say, and I don't care. But they say a thing, and I think that what they say to me makes a lot more sense, especially considering actual evidence that they have. I know Graham doesn't want to admit that there's any evidence out there, but there's literally like at least 100 years worth of evidence, probably more than that, right?
Yeah, but evidence, that's all it is. There's
actual evidence. Now, I've asked you several times, you and when Graham was here, to give me the actual evidence that God did it, that you get logic from God, that you get morality from God. You can't do that. But like Graham got super pissed at me because I just couldn't pull up the actual evidence that is there. At least you're now admitting that there is actual evidence out there. Because he got really mad at me because I couldn't seem to pull up pull it up at the time.
So when you talk about evidence, right? Like I can look at the Grand Canyon and you can look at the Grand Canyon. Okay, that's the evidence, the Grand Canyon. We're going to come away with two different conclusions from looking at the Grand Canyon. You're going to say this was done over the course of millions of years. I'm going to say this was a result of the flood of Noah. So we have the same, if you want to call it evidence, or we're observing the same things, but coming away with two different conclusions. And that's the thing, the evidence doesn't say anything. We interpret what we see from the evidence and come to conclusions. Now, back
If you
to
want
what you were
to
saying about
put it that
God.
way, that's cool.
So what you're saying about God is so for logic, laws, all these things to exist, there has to be something outside of that. Otherwise, it's just what we individually think. It's our opinions. And then if that's the case, then logic doesn't really exist. Truth doesn't really exist. It's just what we make it to be. So there has to be absolute truth, or else what's the point of anything? How do we determine anything?
Hmm.
And my answer to that would be it would have to be God. It would have to be something outside of those things. And that's where I go. And you ask the atheist, well,
Why does it have to be God though?
because what else?
I
What else?
mean, well, us. We're what we observe in reality.
No, but
Our
I just said
entire
that.
history.
Oh.
We've had a very long history of trial and error, and culturally we come up with these things, right? Like
But
you,
Rage,
you
if
can
it's
see
art,
it. You can see it happen like in the country you live, right? Like so. Culturally, we divide, and over time, that division becomes more and more, and you split more and more and more and more. You see that happening in the country right now. Culturally, you divide a morality. You know, 30% of Americans right now have a very different morality than the rest of America. You know, if you look at like when it comes to like 30% of Americans are still actively supporting Donald Trump, even when he's been shown to try to like put a coup out. I mean, it's fucking
Ronnie,
insane.
so if you're talking about morality coming from cultures, that still doesn't answer the problem, because two different cultures could have two different things.
That's one of the things morality comes. I listed it to you, so I got my definition. It's a very basic definition of morality, right? So you Google definition of morality, the definition I gave you is probably what's going to come up, and I think that it works because it includes that you can get your morality, or at least think you can, from your religious beliefs. That they at least define your basis for morality, sure, but it's also culture. It can also be a certain philosophy. It can be something that you deem to be a universal truth, and that's an individual thing, right? Like we observe that in reality. We observe all of these different things. You know, you can observe me. Like if you knew me in real life, and I've been honest with you, I don't think that I'm a good person, but I think if you observed me in real life and you understood I am a single father, that I've been there since the moment she was born, that I've taken care of her, that you would see some aspects of me that you would say, that's a good fucking dude. And I don't have God, right?
Ronnie, what happens if I disagree with you about morality? Like example that was brought up earlier in the stream, like fornicating.
That's like humans, right? Like humans disagree.
Hold on, let me lay it out here. So I'm going to say no. I think it's immoral to have sex outside of marriage. You say, well, I don't think it is. How do we determine which one of us is right? You see the problem? Because if we go by what you're
Say that
saying,
again.
morality is subjective. It's not. There's no ultimate sense of morality. It's just personal opinions, and then at that point, it means nothing because everyone has their own opinions.
Well, I mean, I guess it would mean nothing when it comes to some things. Now some things that we
Right.
deem,
So
we deem
morality
so
doesn't exist. It will.
we deem a lot of things that we find immoral to be against the law. Again, culturally, that's where culture comes into it.
Right. Okay. So if you want to take it to the cultural level, where is the culture getting their idea of morality from?
Culture agrees upon that.
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't
why?
make it moral. So it's a hard argument. So when you're talking about morality, for one, again, like I'm not a scientist, I'm not a philosopher. I'm studying. I've come a long way than I used to be, but I'm always honest about myself. But like so, sure. So if society, right, deems like I don't know, slavery to be morally justifiable again. Does that make it moral? No. So I do have this inward sense, again, to my definition that I provided, that I could have this inward sense that something is quote unquote universally wrong. Doesn't mean it comes from God. It just means that I could know to me that this is indeed wrong, right? Like it doesn't have
Yeah,
to
but how-
be anything else. That's just
But how are you
again
coming
the very
to that
basic definition of
conclusion that it's
morality.
wrong?
Say what?
Yeah, I agree there are things that are right and wrong, but you're ignoring how we determine that. You're just saying it's individual opinions or what society decides. But I'm saying there has to be a higher standard than that because you could have multiple different societies that exist in the world at the same time, and they'll have a different law or a different sense of right and wrong. I'm trying to ask is how do we determine which set of morals is correct? How do we determine which one's right and which one isn't?
Well, I don't think we can do that now, right? So over in let's say Saudi Arabia, right? They have honor killings, and to them, to a lot of people, that's morally justifiable. To me, that's morally wrong. So a lot of this is subjective. Sure, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, but I don't think that that's some like controversial claim. Of course, I think morality is subjective. You make the claim it's objective, do you
Hold
not?
on, Ronnie. So if morality
do you
is
make the
subjective,
claim
then
that
morality
do
doesn't
you
exist.
make the claim that morality is objective?
If morality is based on opinion, then morality doesn't really exist because then it's just personal opinion. There has to be an ultimate set of morals. There has to be an ultimate set
So
of truth
does
for it to derive
does
from.
morality being subjective? That means it comes from personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no ultimate source of truth that we get our morals from, then it's just our
So
personal opinion.
You're
on
making the
what's right.
claim that morality is objective, that there is this objective morality. So, how do you explain, again, Christians, they don't act in accordance? People that seem to have this morality seem to have very different versions of this morality. Some people think it's okay to have sex with their wives,
There's nothing wrong with having sex with your
or
wife.
I mean, having sex with somebody outside of their marriage, or sex with their girlfriend and not their wife. You know, a lot of
Well,
Christians do.
I explained earlier in the stream that we're all sinners.
Sure. But I mean,
Right.
so if morality is objective, how come people seem to vary on what they seem to find morally objectable? You know, like so for me, for instance, it's easy for me to support Black Lives Matter, right? For me, it's morally ethical to support equality. And again, I think I have given you a very basic form of my morality, my basis for morality. I think I did that earlier. If you want to have like a true morality debate, we can do so and schedule it. But
Well, Rage, I asked you about morality, and you went to society structure. That society determines our morals.
well, no. Ultimately, I gave you a very basic standard for my morality. I said that on a basic level, I can determine if I touch the stove, you know, I feel pain, and I don't want to cause that pain to other people because pain bad, right? On a very basic level, uh, you can base your morality from that, and it gets more complicated the further you go. So, and I gave you a very real reason, real life in reality example of that. I know it might not have been the best analogy, but it was a real life observance. You know, you touch that stove, you're never going to touch it again. You know it's bad. You know it hurts. And if you have empathy, again, going to those mirror neurons in your brain, you know, the ability of human beings to have empathy, to put themselves in another person's shoes, to understand their pain, to understand their emotions, right? If you have that, then you have the ability to define a moral structure from that. It's innate within human beings,
Yes, but touching
unless
a
you're a
stove
sociopath.
has nothing to do with morality. That's about pain versus not experiencing pain.
That was a example for my basic basis for what I can call morality, right? Like, you know, you don't want to be hurt. That pain hurts. So I'm never going to touch that stove again. Just like I know that I don't want other people to feel that pain too. That's called empathy. That's how my brain works. That's how
Now let's
most
say
human
that
brains
I
work.
hold on, wait. I want to go off of that, right? So now let's say that I want to make people feel that pain of the stove. Why would that be wrong for me to do that?
Well, I guess it wouldn't be if you want to do that.
Oh, but didn't you just say it would be wrong?
I mean, huh? So if
So
you
you're
if
saying
you
that-
want to touch the stove, right?
No. What if I want to make someone else touch the stove? Let's say I think it's cool. Like I get a joy out of it, right? I turn the stove on, and let's say I take my little sister's hand, and I force it on the stove. Why would that be wrong for me to do that?
Well, if you got joy out of it, why would you stick your own hand on the stove?
Okay, or that. I mean, what if I put both of our hands on the stove? Why would that be wrong?
Because does she enjoy that pain?
No, but I do. Well, now, why would that be wrong?
Uh, it sounds like you're a sociopath.
So, well, regardless if someone's a sociopath or not,
Well, I just
Why
said
would it be
unless you're a
wrong thing to do?
sociopath. I said that a couple times during that whole analogy.
but why would it be wrong for me to force?
I mean, if you're a sociopath and you have no empathy, and if you enjoy pain, which I mean, some people do, but on that level, I don't know. I mean, I have brands on my body, and that was some fucking pain, and I didn't enjoy it.
Well, sure, I got burn marks too, but I'm not a sociopath. I'm just using this as an example, right? I'm just trying to ask you, like, I don't think it's a
So,
right thing to
like,
do.
can you understand though? Under your terms, like, so morality comes from God. So God commanded you to put her hand on that stove. No matter your empathy for her, wouldn't you have to do that?
If God commanded me to do it, yes, but He has not. He wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, we're talking hypotheticals here, right?
But I'm
So,
asking.
so
you,
again, that goes to my
is that
argument.
if-
We haven't
what you're
addressed it
saying-
much. We haven't addressed it. My argument is if you derive your morality from the Christian God, that means, I mean, if you make that claim and if you truly think you're deriving your morality from the Christian God, you are immoral, in my opinion.
how
Well, I started to make the argument, but so I'll ask him and I'll ask you, and we'll see if you responded how Graham did, because I mean,
So, but here's the problem, Rage, is that you're judging God based on what morals?
so
what
again,
standards?
so like say if I were to base my morality on a book like you guys do, but that book was the Mein Kampf, right? Don't you see the issue with
Yeah,
that?
but the Mein Kampf is an independent, immaterial mind of its own. It was written by an infallible man named Hitler.
By an immoral monster named Hitler, right? So
Yeah.
just like the book would be inspired by an immoral monster like Yahweh that would commit genocide.
Wait. So here's the problem with that, though: is by
Or-
what standard are you judging what he does?
By the same standard I would judge anybody.
Right.
So you're
but
the
you're
so you're the
borrowing-
one making your claim. You get this morality from that. I
But
don't
Rage,
think
you're
none
not
of it's
getting-
real. I think it's all bullshit. I think it's figment
you're
of your
borrowing
imagination.
you're borrowing a theistic worldview to judge God. Don't you see that?
No, I don't judge something I can't believe in. I'm judging you.
You just
for
did. You
basing
just
your-
judged Yahweh.
No, I'm judging you for basing your morality on something that's
Rage,
an
you just
immoral,
God of being
reprehensible
an
monster.
immoral monster. You just
It would be
judged
the
Yahweh. based off of
it
what
would
standard?
be the exact same thing as me saying, you know, I base my morality on Hitler. Because I mean,
Yeah, but we
so
can
like
see-
him, so you think that genocide is acceptable if God does it?
Well,
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
oh, Struth.
Yeah, because God knows all things.
So again,
He
if
does
you
everything for
derive-
a reason.
If you derive
Let's
your
say that there
morality
was
from a
some
murderous
sort of,
monster, I don't see how you can fault me for not trusting your morality. I don't make the claim that I derive my
Because you're
morality from a
borrowing-
monster.
You're borrowing morals from a theistic worldview
How?
because that's where morality comes from. That's the whole point I'm making. Is you're trying to judge God on a moral basis, but
It's
you have no
interesting,
standard for the way you
because
judge.
the
him.
argument that Kevin does bring up, that I gave, well, great comfort argument, is that I guess best I remember is that have you even sinned in your mind kind of thing. It's like, well, yeah, actually, he have, and so if I find it interesting, though, if someone who feels that they have it together, maybe they don't believe they're sinless perfection, but they're attacking someone that's, let's say, free grace, or maybe they're Baptist and they're somewhat almost free grace. Like, I want to say, God forbid, that just means certainly not. No, I'm kidding. Oh God. Anyhow, on with the idea here.
Well, the
Um,
point is though not saying like I'm doing it perfectly. I'm not doing it perfectly.
well,
The point is,
I know, you're careful with that, but my problem is though, if somebody then attacks the other side and says, well, they're not saved because they're saying, well, they want to follow it because it's the right thing to do, but it's not a salvation issue. Great comfort argument is that
the heaven, the ones that enter the gate. It's like the patience of the saints. It's like have
well,
the testimony.
I agree with that. However, it's interesting though, because the argument that Kevin does bring up, and I gave great comfort argument, is that I guess best I remember is that have you even sinned in your mind kind of thing. It's like, well, yeah, actually, people have. And so, if I find it interesting though, if someone who feels that they have it together, maybe they don't believe they're sinless perfection, but they're attacking someone that's, let's say, free grace, or maybe they're salvation moment, and the idea, yeah. Well, there you go. That
Like whether it was true or not, wasn't suddenly, but like, and then
so I gave up.
scene in Deuteronomy 30 says they use two different voices, and God said, "Don't say anything came up what you're bringing up," and I was saying like, look, I just want to faithfully say what the Bible is saying on that matter, and people need to realize it because people are saying things like you can't keep.
You have to borrow morals to judge morally. Don't you understand that? So in your worldview in atheism, God can't be immoral because morals
you can prove you're exactly right. There's only one thing you've got to do. You just got to be able to do that one little thing. You know what it is?
Did you understand what I said? Did that make sense, or do you disagree?
I probably disagree. I don't remember. I was asking you a question, but you was probably
What's your
asking me a question at the same time. I don't know. My question was simply, shit, I don't even remember my question. Fuck, I don't know. I smoked a lot of weed. We're going on 2 hours. This was it's kind of painful. I ain't gonna lie. We should do it again though.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have an open room. An open room after party hangout. We'll probably go to like 1 or 2 in the morning. You're welcome to come over there. Sometimes we get some Christians in to argue.
I'll tell you what,
I don't like echo chambers.
I'll come over there and discuss whatever you guys want, as long as people aren't going to be cussing us out, and like as long as we actually have people like a time to talk, or it's not just over talk and I'm not allowed to say anything.
I'm usually a pretty bad moderator.
Yeah, that's a problem. Like, I mean, if you promise to, like, hey, let Kevin say something, don't be rude, let him talk. Yeah, I'll come over there, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely, I'll make it, definitely make the attempt, and I think most people are usually pretty good. I know Leo gets excited. But I mean,
Yeah.
people are gonna overtalk though. Like you are. It is the nature of it. Is people are gonna overtalk. And some people don't get to talk at all. But yeah, I'll definitely preface it. I think there's a lot to say to think on here. And again, like I don't mind having Graham in. It was just a bit weird.
Well, that's why I asked first. I wasn't just going to have him on here. I asked if it was okay.
Well,
and he said yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of Grahams. I wasn't sure that I didn't know it was that Graham.
I didn't know you.
I ran into him before.
I didn't know you two have met.
But even if he'd came in, and I don't know, it was definitely I don't know, it was odd. But he's welcome to come over to the stream as well. I think that there's a lot to process. So Yeah, I want to do this again though. I enjoyed talking to you. I think that I don't know. You're you're interesting to talk to. I think that there's so much more that I want to ask because we could get into OSAS and your thoughts there. We got into it a little bit about atheists being able to be Christians or whatever, and then what was I write down? 'Cause there was a few things in in the Terry shit.
Oh, my discussion with Jamie.
Yeah, it's like can't keep the commandments. I think we got into that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually editing the video. I'm gonna re-upload that discussion so people can watch it if they want.
I don't know what kind of Christian you are yet. Like I haven't sorted out your denomination. Are you a Baptist?
So I attend a Baptist church, but I don't hold to a denomination because here's the problem with denominations. Because denominations are man-made, like men get things wrong, right? No one's perfect. We don't. As long as people understand the core fundamentals, the gospel itself, then I can go there. So I don't identify as a Baptist, but I do currently attend a Baptist church.
No.
I'm just a Bible believing Christian. I just like to leave it at that.
Cool. So you do go to church, and so like when I see you, and yeah, we are reaching 2 hours, and if I'm gonna have a room tonight, I need to start it. Um, when I see you like going at Jamie about certain things, um, is that like a line of thought that you've learned from your preachers, or is that study that you've done on your own and come to?
He's learned it from Graham. Graham and Kevin have had beef, partly, understandably, but Graham and Kevin have had beef with Jamie for months and months.
Your own conclusions? Is there a group of people that have those same lines of thinking?
And they do verbally abuse him. Graham doesn't, although he just say it differently. Kevin has no problem telling him to pee off and this, that, and the other. Doesn't work.
Or is it just pretty much this is you've read the Bible a lot, and these are the conclusions that you came to individually?
It's a little bit of all that. Yes, I've read.
You get most of your opinions, Kevin, from Graham. And I really believe that. Most of your beliefs or whatever from Graham.
The Bible from front to back multiple times. I've done a lot of studying. I've had a lot of discipleship. I've been taught things. And see, but here's the thing: I don't just mindlessly believe everything I'm taught. I actually go to the scripture to double check and see is what they are telling me correct. I'm not a mindless idiot. I can think for myself. And my problem is I have a history with Jamie Russell, where he's been here on YouTube for over a year, trying to pretend to be a Christian, and he hides his little pet doctrines from us. And then when you dig into it and you find out what he really believes, he tries to run from it. He doesn't address his heresies, so I get mad at him because he goes on trying to spread false things and claim to be a Christian. And
he's a Seventh Day Adventist. So I don't think he runs away from that.
Well, no, but he hid what they believe. See, because they have these pet doctrines that undermine the gospel. They have this thing called the sanctuary doctrine. They have this thing called the investigative judgment. They have this thing called the final atonement. All three of these doctrines deny the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, I understand that some Christians have issues with other Christians. I think with them it mainly it's the doctrines of LMA, right?
People that hold these doctrines aren't Christians, right?
Kevin, you hypocrite. I don't want to keep going on about this because it's quite boring me hearing myself refer to you and Sparrow and Olive. But when Sparrow asserted that Revelation 17 is not referring to the Roman Catholic so-called church, i.e. the whore of Babylon, you didn't point it out. You go on about Jamie's false teaching, but you don't pull praise on his annihilationism. Or Olive or Sparrow, all three are annihilationists. They don't believe in an eternal hell, eternal torment, as it were. Neither does Jace. Oh, you've had a go at him on other issues. Hypocrite, Kevin, aren't you? Are you frightened to contradict Olive if you actually believe that the Whore of Babylon is the Roman Catholic Church, appertaining to Revelation 17 of the King James Bible? You didn't correct her on it. Do you know who did correct her on that? Kevin? Jamie did. I think you've tried to turn Jamie into your little pet whipping boy to make yourself look good. Make yourself look holy.
Range. That's my point.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
I think only God would really know that, though, right?
Well, only God can know the heart, but I'll say this. If I ask someone, what do you believe, and they tell me heresy, then I can logically make the assumption that, yeah, you don't believe the gospel. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So, no, can I emphatically know that, he's not saved? No, I don't know his heart. But based on what he tells me he believes, I make a judgment for myself that he doesn't believe the gospel, if I can put it that way.
Oh, right. So Jamie doesn't believe the gospel now.
Yeah, that's I think Jamie seems like a pretty nice dude for a Christian.
Well, no, he can be nice, but he's a heretic, and I don't put up with heresy, and I rebuke him every time I see him. So that's how
that's going to help, isn't it?
Do you think we should do what they say in the Bible we should do to heretics?
What's that?
Like burn them, whatever.
Where in the Bible does it tell us to burn a heretic?
That's probably like a Catholic thing, right?
Yes, the Bible doesn't say that.
I think Protestants kind of took that doctrine though as well. What was the book? It's like
burning people.
The book was called Witch's Hammer. Oh yeah, plenty of Protestants were not maybe not heresy, but Protestants were burning people for witchcraft.
You're talking about the Salem witch trials?
Well, I mean that would have been one of them. But
you know what
I'm
was
not
happening?
Sure. Were the Puritans Protestant?
It depends. I think there was like a mixed bag. Like some had their own little screwy beliefs, and there was others that were Protestant. Yeah, but the Salem witch trials is always misrepresented in mainstream.
I don't think they burned anybody in the Salem witch trials.
No, I don't think they burned anyone, but they definitely did condemn people and put them to death. Because people's children and animals were coming up missing. And what they found out is that people were using them for these weird occultic rituals. And yeah, if you kidnap my child and do satanic things to him and kill him, yeah, you're damn right you're going to be put to death.
So wait, now you're saying like they were actually witches? Is that what you're saying?
Well, whether they actually perform magical rituals or not is irrelevant. The point is they believed in what they were doing, and they did perform rituals on people.
Where do you get that from? Where are you getting that information that you think that the people that were actually killed in the Salem witch trials were actually like doing these demonic things?
I forget where I read it, but there were articles in a book. It was years ago. I can't even remember. I would really have to go back and look that up again to find where I got the information from. But yes, there were children and people's household animals like cats and dogs and things.
This stuff's finished now.
And they started finding, that people were being to say again sometime.
And yeah, I think he started another stream. Praise. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stop. Oh, hold on. After show.
I didn't know that Graham was going to be on there today. Would have been more mental. Didn't have, which I wasn't looking at his side chat. I was looking at mine. Didn't have his stream pulled up, so I'm not sure if Graham was sitting there in the side chat asking to come on, or if that's something that they had planned.
Of course.
I didn't know that.
Oh, come on, Rage. I think that it was planned. Graham would have been waiting there. Graham was around making stupid comments on my channel while Kevin was in your studio. Of course he was waiting.
That Graham was going to be on there today. Would have been more mentally prepared for the crazy, had I known that. But wow, yeah, interesting conversation.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
And I wanted to start with my past, which I'm always honest about. How you doing, Red Fang?
What up?
So what do you think about it? I'm kind of confused. I don't know what to think about it. I don't even know if I can consider like that I did well, because it just got in the areas that I didn't think we'd go. But again, I didn't know it. That's what happens when you kind of go into these things blind. Yeah, that seemed like a shit show.
Did you guys agree on a one-on-one?
Yes, yeah, we agreed on a one-on-one. Yeah.
So why would he be bringing in other people?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, and I probably most people, because in that situation, I was like, sure, fine, fuck it. But it seemed, and I don't want to accuse them of anything, but it seemed to me like in the moment, like, all right, this was staged. This is clearly like a good cop, bad cop. Graham is coming in firing.
Yeah. Of course he was waiting.
Yeah,
He was
like
watching.
if it's a one-on-one, yeah, I don't see why you're bringing other.
He was in the side chat, watching, reading the comments, and listening, and he was waiting for Kevin to bring him in.
People onto it in the middle of it.
It's up to them.
But I think a lot of people then would have been like, no, this was a one-on-one. So he's right. Like I did agree to it, but yeah, it was weird to me.
They're both weird.
Well, the whole history is not facts. You can't prove that because you weren't there.
Yeah, I didn't understand that part. It was crazy to me.
Like you guys weren't there when Jesus was stuck to the cross. Like you don't know if it actually happened. You're going off of a 17,000-year-old book. That's all you're going off of. You're going off a piece of shit book.
Yeah, it seemed like how can you prove evolution? For one, I don't think I can prove evolution. I think that I don't know, the mountain of evidence for evolution proves evolution. I don't know what it's like, huh? It was super weird, and he didn't seem to like understand what I was saying at all. But there was, I guess that's fair because there was a lot of times where I didn't understand what Graham was saying, especially. But like even Kevin, especially there at the end, was just coming out of left field with some shit, like the Salem witch trial. Like, where the fuck did you even get that from? Like, where are you reading this shit?
Abortion clinics are for Satanists to sacrifice babies.
Yeah, when he brought up the court case, I was like, you're not talking about the Satanic Temple, are you? Like literally, these are the same people that go around and they make their political points. They'll put like satanic statues up in public areas and sue, county municipals for having the Ten Commandments in their courthouses and shit like that. They'll show up to pro-life protest dressed as giant babies, like aborted babies. Like that Satanic Temple, because like you think that these people who, most of them, now some of them believe in an actual Satan, but even most of them, I'm not going to say all of them because I don't know, but most of them, they don't believe in a Christian Satan. They think Satan is a humanist and a good guy, right? And that's right. Just the minority of the Satanists in the Satanic Temple that actually are theistic, because most of them are non-theistic. They don't believe in a supernatural Satan. Fucking insane, man. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah. The part that gets me is you are never a Christian. That the gatekeeping of this guy. Like, who the fuck are you, dude? You don't know what I went through in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they bring up Matt Dillahunty and somebody in the side chat, and I would probably agree with them. I'm not sure, but they said that Matt Dillahunty would agree with that. Like, when he was a Christian, he wasn't a real Christian. Like, he wasn't following the rules or whatever.
Well, Matt Dillahunty, he almost became a preacher.
Yeah, he was literally studying to be a preacher. But so even if you take that one example as true, like, yeah, Matt Dillahunty would tell you no, he wasn't a quote unquote real Christian. That doesn't mean that every atheist who thought that they were real Christians and still think to this day that at that time they really thought that they were Christians, doesn't mean that they weren't fucking Christians. Like, and he never really could answer me, like, how do you determine that? Like, how do you measure that? Like, how do you go through life knowing which one's the real one and which one is the fake one? Because you can't get inside of their head. None of it makes any fucking sense.
Which version of Christianity do you want me to follow?
I appreciate that. I guess chat doesn't think I did too bad. Yeah, I
no,
didn't
you did
really,
well.
I didn't get to get into really any of the arguments. Like the historical argument that I was trying to get into. He wouldn't even really let me get into that when it comes to morality. Like, I understand you're a young Earth creationist, but like, I guess I don't understand how they can come to terms with the fact that we knew that there were indeed religions before Christianity, before Judaism, right?
Like their God quite literally came from a different religion.
And then he asked me to prove that. Like, how do you prove that outside of just like you're dumb for me asking me to prove that? Like, I don't know how I prove that outside of like Sumeria existed, and we know that they existed pre-Judaism. What do you want me to say? I don't know.
Right, and we know for a fact that Hinduism has been around at least 1,000 years before Judaism popped up.
Yeah, I actually had a map of it, and I'm not sure if the dates were exact, but yeah, it was like Christianity 1st century CE, Judaism around 1800 BCE, Hinduism would be around 2300 BCE, and then what? Like, we could go back further to like Egypt and ancient Sumeria, and we don't even really understand the civilizations before that. We don't understand those civilizations all that well. But like, we know that they were there, and we like first we have the Sumerian tablets that we can date, like, but they don't trust any of those dating mechanisms. I guess nope. They. So all of world history is a conspiracy against God. But why would God allow that, right?
Right.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, it's just
crazy. All fields of science are against the Christian God.
Yeah. It's not that book was written 2,000 years ago, and we just learned a lot more shit than they could possibly know. Can't be that. Can't be that at all. Oh my fucking God. But so, and the craziest part of it all, and Kevin backed up Graham, because I was trying to bring up a silly little argument that I just kind of came up with, because I knew we were going to get into morality, and I was planning on having some fun with them on it, because we get asked that so many times as atheists. You just hear, can't have no basis for your morality. It's like except this time it's literally an ugh feeling every time you hear it. So I knew he was going to get into it. So I came up with this little argument, like basically, you're saying I can't have a morality, but I think that if you get your morality from God, then you can't be moral, right? So I came up with this clever little argument, and all I got was is genocide immoral? And that's where it ended, because while they would agree that genocide is immoral, they would only agree if it's humans that do it.
Right.
Not immoral if God does it. Like, what? Like, how can you differentiate the two? I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense. I did pull it up, but I never really quite went through it all. I don't even know if it's a proper syllogism. Like I said, I spent like 15 minutes on it. But essentially, I get to my first conclusion, which is God committed genocide, therefore God is immoral. And then it's Christianity. Christians get their morality from the Christian God. Christian God is immoral. Conclusion 1. Conclusion, Christians are immoral. So while you can sit here and say that I can't have a basis for my morality, you're immoral as fuck. But they didn't let me get past the genocide part. So
No.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was fun. I thought we'd have. I thought there was a good chance.
Oh, what happened? The internet's connected okay. Oh, yeah. Have another look.
He literally brought people onto the stream.
He did to both of you.
Several times. It was like super fucking weird. Just to like reiterate a point he was making, or to tell us something. Like, he literally had somebody come on just to tell me something specifically, and I'm like, this is really weird, dude. Like some Joe Schmoes that barely even knew came over to tell us how great he was and how God gave him money, and it was absolutely batshit crazy.
That is an interesting character.
Yeah, I've talked to him before, and then like there was it's funny because every time
I call him the American version Gavin.
yeah, Graham, like, it's funny because every time I talk to Graham, I get him triggered and mad, and he starts yelling and screaming. And it's funny because like I reminded him of that, and then he calmed down after I reminded him, like, dude, remember you did this the last time. Don't do this because I'll just make fun of you. How are y'all doing? What's up, Corey? And I'm sorry, Wilson.
Howdy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Wilson?
Doing good.
Yeah, I thought from the previous video that you were talking to Preacher, and that is an interesting character.
Yeah, I've talked to him before, and then like there was a few moments through the two conversations where they were like cult moments, and it's like I really don't know if this dude is like trying to lead a cult, like a real cult.
Yeah,
So.
Like I've talked to him on his stream a couple of times, and he gives off a lot of weird, like, David Koresh kind of vibes. And I mean, the fact that like he'll bring his son on camera, and his son is a moderator in his chat, and his son is like 12 years old. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, he like it, in both of our streams, I think, maybe just one of them, maybe just one. He literally brought people onto the stream.
He did to both of you.
Several times. It was like super fucking weird. just to like reiterate a point he was making or to tell us something. Like he literally had somebody come on just to tell me something specifically, and I'm like, this is really weird, dude. There's like some Joe Schmoes that he barely even knew came over to tell us how great he was and how God gave him money, and it was absolutely batshit crazy.
You don't need mental health. Just pray in God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that weirded me the fuck out, and that's why I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stop talking to you because I felt like
Yeah, that's what I did. Man, he showed up to an open room for just a second the other day, and I was gonna let him come in. I'd never seen him in like an open room setting, so I didn't know how he would do. But he was in and then he was out and he never came back. So, but yeah, I said I was done. Like I'll only talk to you on your channel. Like I'm gonna keep that kind of crazy away.
Yeah, I met him through Amy Newman, and yeah, that first experience, like talking to him on Amy Newman's channel, like holy hopping horseshit, like you actually believe this. I'm not making fun of you for believing in it, but you're telling me that I have to believe in it.
Yeah, and yeah, Kevin gives off some of those vibes. So I asked him, and he called him a heretic. But like he literally like says a lot of the same shit that preacher says. So I was definitely getting that vibe off of Kevin as well, for sure.
Well, that was the thing I picked up on is like when you ask him a question, he won't give you an answer. He'll just tell you to read something.
Yeah, I got that a lot. Yeah. So when you talk to preacher, was he bringing up did he make you actually like look at the shit? Like, was he bringing up scripture and showing it on the fucking screen like he likes to do?
Yeah, he would make me read it, and I would read it. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? That means God made you perfect. I'm like, I'm not perfect. I'm fallible. I can make mistakes.
Yeah, he doesn't get that. I went through the same thing, through the same shit with him, man, and it's the same. And I don't see how he does it, like, because he'll spend hours just talking about it and reading scripture to try to back up his point. And I'm like, dude, you got like 6 people watching you. Like, why do you do this hour after hour after hour when most Christians think you're full of shit too? I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man.
I did actually try to get him to challenge G-Man to a debate on whether or not Christians can swear.
Oh,
that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. I know in our last discussion, he had gotten so drunk by the end of it, you couldn't understand anything he was saying, and he got mad at me for ending it because, like, at that point, it was like we were just taking advantage of the fool. You know, like it was. I've been drunk on stream, and I ain't never been that drunk. You know, like he was wasted. You couldn't understand a single word he was saying. And I empathize with him. Like, yeah, I have been here many times. And so I was like, dude, I'm in the stream. I'm not going to sit here and just continue this bashing for any longer. And I haven't had him back on since. Because like I said, there was several things in that stream that was like really culty. Like when he brought the people on stream, or when he brought out this big wad of cash and said, God gave me this money. And then brought people on to say, yes, God gives him money. I'm like, this is crazy right now.
But he doesn't bring them on panel, like they're in the background. Like he just brings them on camera.
Yeah, he just brings them on camera. Yeah, they don't have their own little, you know, it's not like somebody watching in their home. It's like 20 people in his fucking house. And then his kids are right there too. You know, like I live in a small apartment, but I'm able to keep my kids separated. But she's not in here right now. Like she might come in for a brief moment to let me know what her blood sugar is or for something, but then she's right back out of the room because she knows not in here when I'm streaming. I'm smoking right now. You know, like if I'm not streaming, I can step out on the porch and smoke. But when I'm streaming, I'm at my computer. You don't come in here when I'm smoking and when I'm talking this adult shit.
Knock, are you familiar with the channel Everything Nice?
No, never heard of it.
You might want to look up that channel because it was a glorious thing where Theo drug Will Kincaid's ass.
Oh, really? No shit.
Primarily on the whole Smokey Saint bullshit. Will tried to juggle like I don't know if that's Smokey or not. I can't tell the difference. It might be his cousin because his cousin was banging the 16-year-old when he was 20. But it was cool because they were in a relationship when they were minors.
Yeah,
So
I'm over
Smokey's
there. I'm on the channel right now, and it says like it's the one 6 days ago interview with Will Kincaid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I know Will was in the side chat earlier. People are asking me, "Are you cool with Will Kincaid?" No, we'll never be cool ever. We did make an agreement not to go at each other. It's lasted longer than I ever thought it would.
A lot of things got brought up about like, well, you're trying to juggle this, mental bullshit about, Smokey Saint, but you are really open and willing to say that, Knox a P word and this person's a pedo. Well, yeah, I don't remember all the I don't remember everything about what I said about that, but yeah, they did a lot of dumb shit, and yeah, Theo brought up like, no, you guys brought up Knox Facebook and mentioned that, yeah, he has a picture of him kissing his daughter.
Yeah, they literally spent like a year saying that shit about me.
Mm-hmm.
Like a year.
Yeah, the reason that video is only about 40 minutes long is because Theo kicked him out. He's like, yeah, you're just a reprehensible piece of shit.
So is that Theo's channel? Or Theo? I keep hearing Leo. All right.
No, Theo.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll definitely, I'll have to check that out. See if somebody called Will on his shit. I wonder if he's still in the side chat. He's hearing every word. Yeah, I'm going to watch it, Will.
Yes, Will. Tell me how Underhaven was a pedophile when he was in a relationship at 19 with a 16-year-old.
Yeah, that's... Those are those gray areas. Yeah, I can remember this this one story specifically of this football player on his way to a big school on a big scholarship. I can't remember the dude's name. I can't remember his name. It's driving me crazy because it's like right on the tip of my tongue. I seen a story about him on ESPN not too long ago, just like this, where are they now type shit. But he was on his way to school, had a big time scholarship. Everybody projected him to go to the NFL. And yeah, he was like 19, and I think his girlfriend was like 16 or something, and they got him on that like statutory rape shit. Ruined his whole fucking life. It was like his girlfriend. It was weird.
Well, the funniest thing about that interview was that Will brings up apparently Smokey's cousin that he was 20 years old and he was having a sexual relationship with a 16-year-old, but it was okay because they had been in a relationship when they were both minors. So when Theo brings up the fact that, okay, so he was 17, boning a 12-year-old, apparently Will Kincaid just doesn't know how to do math.
Yeah, and that justification that it was his cousin, no, I mean, they're the same person with the same voice, for one. And for two, the math doesn't add up because we've heard from the victim she was 12.
Right.
And according to her, Josh was in college, so he would have definitely been at least
19?
At the earliest 19. Yeah, at the earliest. But I think she indicated that he was actually older than that. If I'm remembering her conversation, because it was, I think she indicated that he didn't, because he lived in California. So he had talked about seminary. So at some point he had tried to like go to seminary at some point or another. And then later on went to college in Arizona for his real estate shit or whatever. I think it was. I'd have to go watch the interview again, but I think she definitely inferred that Josh was probably like 24, or maybe as old as 24, but I'd say probably 21, 22 years old when they were having this relationship that supposedly the parents were in agreement with.
Well, the biggest reason that Will Kincaid is on this whole, like, I'm just going to call everyone a P word is because he did an interview, it was a while ago, with a content creator that I'm just going to call Indiana Soft Hands, that he has that same predilection that if you disagree with him, you're a P word.
Yeah.
I think it's just that
I'm trying to see if I got it in here because he used to send me like emails like, come to this stream, it's open room, open hangout, but I've got 821 emails in here because I haven't cleaned them out. All right, there's one. John Grishala. This was May 24th. So yeah, join StreamYard, join link, the Nilva Nexus pod. What the fuck is the Nilva Nexus pod? Yeah, I never look at him, but he sends them to me all the time. Like, come join this stream and talk. No, I don't want to talk to you.
He primarily he sticks to Odyssey, and that's where him and Vaughn stream, and that's just because John can use like basically like the Yiddish version of the N-word and call people F-gots.
Yeah, so that's where all of the shit stemmed from, man. Like, so back when I first met Will Kincaid, right? I went onto a stream, and John was using the Yiddish version of the N-word, and yeah. I knew I picked up on it. I knew he was doing it on purpose, so I got mad about it. And Will just flipped this gasket, like, why are you getting mad about this? We had a whole stream about it, a whole fucking stream about it, and where they're trying to break it down, he's not being racist, it's not racist, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he is. You're sitting here saying he's still doing that shit. That's what started it all. I flipped out about that, and everything kind of just spiraled into shit as Will Kincaid came into my fucking life. All over, I was in a stream, I met him on Brett Keen's channel, and fucking John Grishala said the N-word in Yiddish, and I picked up on it because Will kept laughing every time he fucking did it, and I was like, that ain't right.
Yeah, at this point right now, like J-Dubs, if you've never seen the Adam Lore interview from way back in the day on Google Plus, you're not on Discord anymore. Like, how can I contact you?
Well, I am technically on there, but I never look at it. The best way is like through my email or through Twitter or on Facebook if you got me on Facebook.
I don't have you on Facebook. Drop your email in the private chat, and I'll send you the link to the Adam Lore video.
Let me put it in there. It's pretty easy. It's just a DA part everybody gets wrong because they don't know how to talk ghetto.
Because Adam Lore is currently one of the people who is dragging Kent Hovind.
Oh yeah, I'll check that out. I don't usually watch the creationism shit, but I have a particular dislike for Kent Hovind. It's become personal.
Oh, are you familiar with the recent shit?
A little bit, like there's a lot that I'm probably not, because I heard something about a kid in a hospital that I knew nothing about. I know a lot about the Cindy Lincoln shit. That's how far behind I am with Cindy Lincoln.
You, look up a channel called I think it's Mark Stoney. Like he is just
Oh, yeah. I've talked to Mark Stoney before.
Yeah, he's a solid motherfucker. Like he's a good dude, and he is trying to bring up all the bullshit that Kent is trying to cover up. Where, yeah, Kent allowed a registered sex offender to stay in the same house with a child.
Yeah, I knew about that. I know about that. I can't remember the guy's name.
Chris Jones.
Yeah, Chris Jones. Talked to Cindy about him. Mark Stoney, he lived on he lived there for a minute, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. I've talked to Stoney. I know a lot about. I've heard though like something new about like this kid that was in a fucking hospital, and Kent Hovind said something really stupid, and I just can't remember what it was. This was like recent. I can't remember what the fuck he said, but it was like something really like, just like, why the fuck would you say that to a kid in a hospital? Like maybe gave him a pamphlet to Dino Land, like come see us when you're out or when you're better or some shit like that. So, I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, I heard about the pedophile, and then the abuse of Cindy Lincoln. I think it's still significant. I'm not sure what happened with his appeal.
I can't go to the fact that Brett Keane is desperately trying to play both sides.
Is he still doing that? Like, man, he was doing that months ago, and I got turned off. Like, I was going on Brett Keane's channel for a minute. That's where I talked to Cindy and Mark and the Stoney guy. And yeah, he was playing both sides, and it was like, how is Kent even letting you do this? Because he would have Cindy Lincoln on one day, and then he would have Ken on the very next day, and it was like, how are you doing this, dude? This doesn't seem like
it's Brett. He's trying to generate views to his fucking channel because, hey, Brett Keane's still alive. Good for him.
Yeah. I give him chances. He hasn't really done anything lately. But like I said, I just dipped out. I stopped watching his channel because it just got
you and everybody else
hectic, man. It got hectic.
The last person, like in my little corner of the internet, like her channel down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much like what happened to my channel was I went too deep on the NIFB,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, so they were flagging me, and then Misha Pop came on, and he was like he was the worst one I'd ever had, and yeah, he got into his like really deep, crazy shit, and it was like right then it was like, yep, this is too much, and they demonicalized.
They were nice. Oh, yeah. I wonder what this is about then. I'll find out. Oh, so look at that then. All right. Oh. Graham the Fool.